hitting record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that's my afternoon, so I don't want to make you jealous of how great time I'm going to have. But I'm going to be stacking wood all day. So there you go. So anyway, that's always a good time. Turn my volume down on this thing. This is always fuck up.
I know. I got to turn my volume down too.
Yeah.
Just waiting for us to. Okay, there we are. We're live.
Oh, look at that, huh? Live again.
First Facebook Live of the new year.
I know. It's so crazy. Let's see if I can get this thing hooked. I always have a tough time getting into this at the beginning.
By the way, we are over 8,000 downloads now too.
Ooh, okay. It's a lot. All right, why the fuck is this? Anyway, I can't get my notifications on here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let me turn this thing down. So anyway, well, look at that. We're live again. Oh, look, Andrea's first-hander.
Hey, Andrea.
But it's funny. It's funny, though, when you talk about, like, the bourbon thing, though, before we get started with this. That's how I was, like, with Bacardi rum for a while. Yeah. So, like, I was always into, like, drinking that shit, right?
Yeah.
And I liked it because it was sweet, but I got so fucked up on that one time, and I've never had it since. And it's a shame if you can't handle bourbon anymore. I guess I'll have to drink more from,
It's not that I can't handle it. I just can't, like, have a full shot of it because apparently my body doesn't like it.
Well, I mean, you had one. I mean, whatever. But
yeah, I had one.
Anyway, so
it wasn't even a full shot.
That's
hey,
what makes
Jen,
it sad.
Hey, Eliza. Hey, Roger.
I don't know how that makes it better for you. You can't handle one shot of bourbon. It's a different story.
Hey,
it's true though.
Okay, just for the record, people, when he says I can't handle one shot of bourbon, he doesn't mean I get drunk off of one shot of bourbon. It gives me a migraine the next day.
Oh, it does. But everybody jumping on. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Tim. Hey, John.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2021.
Hey, Heckman's in Gettysburg.
Wow, yeah, I'm jealous.
Hey,
jealous
Howard.
of that. Yeah, going from 2020 to 2021, it's like going from Masson to New Hampshire. It's like, okay, it looks the same to me, but that's the way that is,
I left 2020 on a very positive note. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to look back and look at all the shit that happened. I looked back and saw all the positive stuff that happened, which was a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Roger. Yeah, Notre Dame got their asses kicked. It was made for an almost perfect night. If stupid Ohio State had lost, that would have been. But okay, they got theirs coming. They got theirs coming next week against Alabama. Yeah. I wouldn't wish Alabama my worst friggin' nightmare right now. That's a wagon.
Hey, Jacob. Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
We're jumping on quick. Everybody's ready to go. You're waking up early on a Saturday morning, huh? Yeah. So anyway,
hey, Ryan. Ryan says, what was the Mayan end of the world year 2012? Question 2, how common was dyslexia among Mayans 2021?
Jacob, yes, I do have many flags, okay? I was going to fly a South Carolina flag in honor of Clemson, but they fucking lost, so I decided to leave his flag up. Yeah. So there's a little insight into my plan.
Because we're both Team Tilden, so.
Yeah, so that's the way. So there'll be a new one next week. Hey,
and
Barbara.
then Heckman gets to see it now, too. He didn't.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Slip the flag. But anyway, so good morning, Mary. Good morning to you. Good to see you up and Adam this early Saturday morning in some sort of functionality, which is always a positive for everybody.
Got up at 7.
Yeah, I was up at 7 too. I was up at 7 to listen to the podcast. That was a fun podcast. It's fun talking about Stones River. Did you know there's not an apostrophe in Stones, by the way? I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't actually.
Catch up on that. It's always fun when the grammar police comes out and finds you. I got the hit on that. I got hit on that something earlier. I forgot what the hell it was earlier.
Really, you got to hit me for. Hey, Allie
anyway. Hey, Allie K. And I did promise Allie K sort of yesterday that I would not mention that green and gold team. So I'm not going to mention that. So I'm not going to take a victory lap. But I'm going to leave that alone, Allie. So for you, we'll give you a break on that one. Anyway, so it was good. I hope you had a good Happy New Year, Venture. I think it was it's good to see 2021 and 2020 finally go.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun talking about Stones River. And
we did.
These are the battles that are fun, though. These are like the prototypical Civil War battles, right?
Well, yeah, it's nice, taking a deeper dive on it and seeing wow, this is just, to me, they're just as interesting as something like Gettysburg or Antietam. And they're also when you look at it, we found out they're just as important. Had the Union Army lost Stones River, they would have been fucked. If Stevenson's troops had not been sent to Vicksburg, or if Breckinridge had been brought to reinforce Cleburne at the right moment, it would have been disastrous, I think.
Well, that's the thing we were saying about all these battles, Mary, is it seemed like the rebels always had that just one division short. But this is one that, I mean, Carter Stevenson, you see how good he did over Chattanooga. He would have been he would have been a factor, I think.
Yeah.
He definitely would have been. But the other mistake we talked about with Stones River was if you're going to play capture the flag, don't push the enemy towards the flag. And I know, we're not going to blame Claiborne for it. We very, very clearly had to absolve him of all responsibility, Mary, with this. But it was that the attack of Bragg at Stones River was interesting about that was the game plan. And Bragg got to be the one who got to swing the hammer this time. He didn't wait. He attacked early, got him up before the Dunkin' Donuts opened, so all those Union guys got stuck, right? And he had everything going for him, but he just didn't have enough guys. But you wonder why. And a lot of this falls on Wheeler for not being able to attack the supply lines. But there's a lot of mistakes they made. But this is when you really can't blame Bragg on. You can't, in my opinion. I came out of this thinking, okay, Bragg is one of those dudes where he had a good game plan. Again, he did allow Crittenden to finally get across the river, to Jim's point, just mention exactly, and get that artillery there with Mendenhall's getting those 45 guns, which were placed absolutely to a T, which really, destroyed all those guys, those Kentucky orphan guys. And again, but at that point, it was, I don't want to say the wheels were off the wagon, but it was pretty close. The Confederates had their chance on the first day, and they let them off the hook. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly. Well, what happened is you have the two MVPs of the battle going at each other, Claiborne and Sheridan. And Sheridan knew how to get his troops to maneuver them to kind of close that, to protect that road. I mean, they're having to protect that road just like they did in Chickamauga, right? The Lafayette Road in Chickamauga. But you've got the two MVPs going at each other, the best on either side.
Definitely.
And then regarding the Orphan Brigade, that is why Breckinridge hated Bragg so much. He never forgave him for that, because he went to Bragg and said, fuck this, we can't attack. And Bragg's like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, not Ryan. You're looking forward to some yeah, exactly. I mean, it's tough to look at a battle like this and not come out of it pro Rosecrans. And again, he fucked himself with Iuka, with Grant, and he was also a Democrat, which means that there was no way in the world they were going to let this guy be a hero in this war. We talked about that offline. I think we mentioned on the podcast too. Was they were going to make absolute sure that whatever generals came out of this war on the victory side were going to be Republicans. And it's clear in Grant's speakings of how he treated Hooker, how he treated Rosecrans, how he treated McClellan, that in Rosecrans he was a hero, right? Coming out of these things. When they put him into that battle, he was a rising star. But again, he, and people say, well, it's not true. Well, look at what Grant said about Stones River after the war. It wasn't a battle.
And it didn't win. He says, about Lookout Mountain, he says it was pure romance. It didn't happen. And then for Stones River, Lincoln says this is a victory. And Grant says to him in 1865, no, it was not. It was not a victory. Yeah. And Ryan says that Garfield wanted to make Rosecrans VP in 1864, but rumors are Stanton quashed Rosie's wire, affirming his willingness to go on the ticket. That would not shock me if Stanton did something like that. Stanton was an underhanded bastard. He definitely did something like that.
No, but Rosecrans was not without his flaws. But we mentioned before, and this is just what we said a little while ago before we went out live, is I have to think this dude had a nervous breakdown at Chickamauga, mentally, physically. I mean,
he did.
To go through what he did and see everything he did, there's only so much the mind and the body can take. I mean, it's just they're a different cloth and they're a different breed. But I don't know. I mean, he did have that whole thing set up in Chattanooga that Grant took the play and the cracker line thing.
Yep, exactly.
He did all that. He had some good stuff, but he to what Andrea's point is don't not look at that anti-Catholic thing too. That was another big issue.
Yeah.
He went to he ended up going to Catholicism from converting from being a Protestant, pissed his whole family off. Hey, Joanna Roth.
Hey, Joanna.
Jumping on here.
Hey, Lori. Hey, Eric. Hey, Allie B.
Joanna gave me that awesome Gettysburg print, Mary.
That was awesome. I'm getting that.
Oh my god. That's hanging on my wall, right? Yeah, that's hanging on my wall now at work. I stare at that all day long. I love that. So thanks again, Joe, and I hope everything's going all well down there in beautiful Cashtown, Pennsylvania, just not far from Gettysburg. We got to get down to the Thirsty Farmer again soon, Joe, and I get my ass back down there when this fucking thing opens up again.
Yeah, I will probably be coming down there myself too once COVID ends.
It'll be a good time. But it's interesting watching this stuff though, and but it was a good battle to watch. I think it was fun to Andrea wrote a haiku. Oh my gosh.
Handed Bragg his ass and then screwed the pooch at Chickamauga. Oops. I do feel sorry for Rosecrans at Chickamauga because he's having to.
I feel sorry for all of us.
I know.
I'm kidding. Andrew's very good. It's very good.
No, so like, I mean, you look at like when I was reading about this, the Rosecrans from Chickamauga is not the same Rosecrans that's at Tullahoma or especially at Stones River. But like when you look at the background of Chickamauga, so he, first of all, he's got the army spread way too thin, which Thomas has already said, this is not good. Bragg might attack us. And then he's having to basically leapfrog the army back to Chattanooga. But in doing that, he's not getting any sleep. And they say that was one of the things that factored into him just kind of breaking and running when the breakthrough happened on the second day of Chickamauga. So yeah, he definitely, like, I think he was one of the ones that it was definitely PTSD, I think, that affected him. But then you have someone like Sherman where it doesn't. It just depends on who they are, right? It affected them all differently, what they saw.
Well, it's funny as you go through these battles, and there's constants. Every battle has a slaughter pen. Every battle has someone who's drunk, right? It's just funny. I wasn't Ben Cheatham gets to be the drunk in this battle apparently, so it's pretty cool.
Jim says, to understand the Battle of Stones River, think of the Union line as an open pocket knife folding in on itself with Sheridan at the hinge. Yeah, that's exactly what he was doing. And Sheridan was the one that Sill came to him, one of his brigade commanders, and said, they're massing on the other side and they could attack us. And Rosecrans wasn't expecting that. And then so Sill goes to McCook, or Sheridan and Sill go to McCook and say, this is what's happening. And McCook is like, whatever. He's the same attitude that Sherman has at Shiloh when that guy comes and tells him the rebels are closer than what you think. And Sherman's like, no, there's no rebels. They're back at Corinth. Take your damned regiment back to Ohio. And then the next day, what happens?
Oh yeah.
Surprise.
No. Hey, Ellie B. Yeah, all these have names. This one has Hell's Half Acre and all kinds of stuff. But you mentioned your point about Sheridan, though. And, he obviously did very well. We talked about how he compared to Cedar Creek with the Swan Mary, and how he lost his friend Joshua Sill. He also lost Frederick Schaefer as well as George Roberts.
All three of his brigade commanders. So he's having to ride up and down his lines directing the men. And he was doing that before they were all killed, but then they ended up getting killed, and that's what he has to do. And Rosecrans is doing the same thing. Rosecrans takes on a role here that's more like a division or corps commander, where he's out kind of, boosting morale and all that and riding the lines. Andrea, like, Shit Creek, many generals found themselves up there. Well, I think the other, you and I were talking about this before we went live this morning, but the other thing too that a lot of these generals have in the back of their minds is the Joint Committee for the Conduct of War. And if Rosecrans had to go before that committee, he was fucked, because he's a Democrat and it's full of Republicans.
Yeah, that was kind of like I can only imagine hauled into that principal's office. I mean, I've been hauled into many office in my life, but when basically that they're going to find it, they're basically do well until we can find a way to get rid of you. You can't do too well, because if you do, we're going to get rid of you. If you do shitty, we're going to get rid of you. So like we said before, you had to be right in the middle. You had to be perfectly mediocre. You couldn't be too aggressive. You couldn't be too passive. You had to be in the middle. And at the end of the day, if you were a Democrat, forget it. Forget it. I mean,
you were done.
Just the way it was. So what's up, Frail?
Hey, Ben.
So,
but there's the other thing too, is just all the shit that is going on with Braxton Bragg. Like the amount, like the petition before this battle, just like at Chickamauga, like you see that Chickamauga is not just a one-off in how the generals feel about Bragg. They've been fighting since Stones River, like between Polk and then who else was it? Kirby Smith going to Richmond and telling Davis, you need to get rid of this guy. Put Joseph E. Johnston in his place.
Yeah. Andrew, how did Rosie even rise? I mean, Rosie had a good reputation. He graduated West Point, I think it was 1842, from off my memory. He was a distant relative of a guy named Stephen Hopkins, who was a Declaration of Independence signer, Mary. So he knows where the secret gold is on the back of the map. He knows about that too. He was a former inventor. He was a good guy coming through the ranks. He was a typical guy. But I think, the Catholicism thing, I can't talk today. I think too much beer. But speaking of beer, Mary, so my friend Bill, a friend of Joanna here, brought me some Gettysburg from Four Score. So I'm going to be drinking some of that today. That's good stuff.
Jealous of that.
Ooh, Four Score is the absolute best. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's on my post-COVID bucket list when I get back to Gettysburg finally. And Ryan said that he won McClellan's early battles in West Virginia against Floyd and Granny Lee. So generally, he's like McClellan. Rosie's got a lot of early successes, but the Catholicism goes against him. So does what happened at Iuka, and then the whole being a Democrat, and just Grant having his own agenda as well. Grant throws a
Well,
lot of people under the bus to make himself look a lot
well,
better.
I mean, he was clearly jealous of other people's success, except Sherman, because he knew Sherman was never a threat to him.
Yeah,
Because
Sherman,
Sherman,
because Sherman was like, I'm not getting involved in politics, and I don't care if you are a higher rank than me, whatever. Like Sherman didn't care.
well, Grant wrote that letter to his wife, basically saying how great Sherman was, and
Yep.
and Sherman was a great foot soldier for him, but he clearly didn't have aspirations.
He had
It
no
was like
political
we said before.
aspirations.
It was very clear before, like we were saying, Mary, whoever was the hero in the Union of this war, okay, was going to be president of the United States after the Civil War.
Yep.
There was no question, and they wanted to make sure that this was crafted and tailored in a way so when it ended, that it would be a Republican guy. Now, Grant's, ironically, his presidency kind of continued along that kind of attitude, right?
Mhm.
Promising, doing favors for other people, and then it kind of all blew up in his face. I mean, obviously, we all like Grant, but I think you got to understand, just like today, politics plays a huge role in this, in all of it.
Oh, it does. Grant
Confederate
definitely had the
side too,
agenda.
you know.
Yeah, it all does. Like, and it's that stuff is nearly as interesting as the battles themselves, and to see all this infighting that's happening, like especially in Army of Tennessee, and you realize like, holy shit, this is not just Chickamauga. It culminates with Chickamauga. I think it gets really bad, but you know.
Andrew, he did throw people under the bus, though. He threw Hooker under the bus at Lookout Mountain.
Yep, he did.
You know, he threw Rosecrans under the bus after this battle. He did a lot of that.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Andrea, and everybody else watching. I love Grant. I think he's very talented. He's definitely a reason why the Civil War was won. But once you start to look at things more and look at the biases he did have an agenda. He threw Hooker under the bus. He threw Rosecrans under the bus, all to further his and even Sherman's own thing. Because the real heroes of Chattanooga, as we discussed, were Hooker and Thomas. Mm-hmm. And they're barely mentioned in Grant's memoirs.
It doesn't mean that Grant's
it was me that said it.
Yeah, see, I get blamed for all this shit you do. You know, that's why I'm going to get killed someday because of you. But we're not saying that Grant's bad, Andrew. All we're saying is that there's a pattern with him, right? And it's no different than anybody else. He wanted to make sure that the people who were going to take over and the people who were going to succeed were people he wanted to succeed. But again, he'd be a very different of human nature if he wasn't that way, because they all were. It doesn't mean that you know, I mean, I guarantee you. I mean, look at Lincoln, right?
Oh,
you know, he right, but although he did support McClellan a lot at the beginning,
he did. Yes, he did.
That September 2nd thing before
he was supportive of his generals, and he did believe in them. Like he wrote Hooker that letter that was like a father writing to a son, saying, "Look, I know you're an arrogant bastard, but just like I've chosen you because I believe in you. So just please, please behave, and just do your job," kind of thing, right?
Do your job. A football coach used to say that, and it actually would work. It's funny how that changed, but again, no one's saying that it's bad or whatever. It was just saying that there was certainly a political agenda with a lot of these guys, because they were looking at the post-war just as much as they were looking at the war.
They were,
and they knew those couple of years after the war was over was going to be a very tenuous political time with Reconstruction. They wanted to make sure that it was going to be done the way they wanted it to be. Ironically, having Johnson be the vice president was probably the worst thing Lincoln ever freaking did in hindsight, right?
It was, and he was doing that because he wanted somebody that would be an aid in Reconstruction, kind of that connection to the South, because that's who Johnson was, right? And by choosing him, he figured he had that. Lincoln is not sitting there thinking of his vice president, thinking, what happens if I go to the theater and get shot? Then this guy's going to have to be president. That was not his mindset at all, because, why would it be? Why would you think that way? And also, that had never happened before.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, who the hell knows? But again, it's I don't know. It's just depending on, you can tell that the pattern as the war goes on about who was the sacred cows and who wasn't, and but it's interesting to see how it all plays itself out. But who knows? But it's fun. But it's fun doing this stuff, and it's fun getting these other battles. I think I think people really, this is one of those battles people really should focus on. It's kind of, like before, it's almost like a Shiloh a little bit, but the casualty numbers are gigantic. Again, it's just, it doesn't,
highest percentage.
It's not in the East. It's not into, it's not you know, it was an off campaign year. It was the end of the calendar year,
Yeah.
but I was good about this though. Is people really should those battles people should focus on.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
not
they not just show you like about the like more about the Civil War, but they show you like how close the Union at times did come to losing, because this is a great battle to discuss, to play the what if game with. But it also sheds light upon the biases that you find in the historical record and historical
Mhm.
memory and all that, like especially with General Grant. And I mean, I went into this questioning, okay, why is Rosecrans treated this way, and why is this battle not as well known? And you find out at the end of the day it was
Mhm.
partly due to General Grant.
Mhm. Hey Denise, look at you going to
Hey,
Gettysburg.
Denise.
Everyone's going to Gettysburg today, Mary. I'm sitting my ass here getting ready to stack wood for the afternoon. That's my afternoon. But
um, Ryan said that my liver, like General Sherman after Bull Run, has taken a break due to being overworked, stressed, and battle shock before renewed campaigning. So it's only Assam tea from my Carney mug today. Well, tea is just fine, Ryan.
yeah, and hey Ryan, guess who had a tough time with bourbon over the weekend? By the way,
Fucker.
in any case, but it's all good though. It's all good. But it's nice studying these and these, you know, these guys, you know, they're talking about going to Gettysburg and places like that. It's I wish, you know, I wish there was more Civil War stuff where I live, and that's the
Here.
problem.
I was
There's
going to say
not,
same
right?
here, but I'm in Canada.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the same thing for you too. But I mean, like, but being able to jump in the car. I mean, I can drive to Gettysburg if I really wanted to. It's like 7 hours away. But now with
Yeah.
this pandemic thing, I have to
Well,
bring a
I could
gun
too.
down at the
It's
border.
like 9 hours away from me, which isn't that bad. And believe me, I would have been there many times, but I cannot cross the border right now. So
No, you're stuck. You're stuck.
yeah, I'm
But
stuck.
but no, I think it was it's but being able to go to these small battlefields like last summer when we went over to Kernstown was
Yep,
cool because who the hell goes to Kernstown? We were the
exactly.
only ones, and it was a little different battlefield because it wasn't even a battlefield. It was literally someone's
Hmm.
backyard. Who owns it? You know, and you went in there and some guys like, "Can I help you guys?" I'm like, "Guys, is this the battlefield?" "Oh yeah, I'll take you. I'll show you around." And he had his garage, which is basically like the museum.
That's
So you can go
awesome.
in there and see it. It was neat. It was pretty cool, and he showed us around. But definitely stuff to do. Um, yeah, I know the Civil War stuff here, but I mean like battlefields and being able to go to a battlefield. I
Yeah.
mean, I can go look at monuments and I can go to museums and all that stuff. And Boston's got a bunch of abolition stuff, um, but as far as battlefields go, I mean, there's no. I have to live
Yeah.
vicariously from that.
Denise says that she's about an hour and 40, but not close enough. I agree.
God, if I was an
I'd just
hour
like to
40
live
from
there,
Gettysburg,
actually.
that's 100% going to happen for me.
Yeah,
But
me
being an
too, I
hour
think.
40 from Gettysburg, I'd be like, screw it. Just jump in the car, go to work. You know what? Screw it. I'm taking a right instead of a left. I'm gonna go to Gettysburg. I love that, you know, you get off, you go through Harrisburg and you go
Yeah.
through, get onto Route 115. You have to go through like past Dillsburg and you're almost there. And that you get that one area where you get the hills and like, it's just,
Yeah.
and it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
Um, 10 from Cincinnati. Yeah, so Andrew, you're in Cincinnati. So I'm sure you're glad to be back there again. But oh gosh, it was fun though.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. I'm looking forward to traveling post pandemic. I definitely want to get to Stones River. And that's the other thing about Stones River too that we talked about kind of off air, was just the level of preservation is just not there. Like I think only 20 to 30% of the battlefield is preserved. And I think, well, Jim lives there, so he would be able to tell us exactly how much it is. But
Well, we could.
I sometimes wonder if how these battles are remembered. I think it definitely factors into their preservation, and that's why it's important to talk about them, because maybe then that will lead to more of them, like their importance and why we need to save
Mhm.
this land.
We got to talk about our announcement we just talked about. That's a good segue.
Oh yeah, go for it.
We gonna do that?
Yeah.
Put it on me. All right. So to her point, so we were looking at this, and I think, you know, Stones River, I think, and Jim probably knows, is about 15 or to 20% is still preserved. So like
Mhm.
85% of it is gone, it's stripped over. So we decided we'd have some fun. So we got this book club thing we're doing, right? So we listed all 4 books. What we thought would be fun to do is, because books are expensive, they're a pain in the ass sometimes to get, was if we did a little contest for the second, third, and fourth book. So that would be Reuben's book on the March of the Sea,
Yep.
Dr. Kate's book on the assassination,
Yep.
and then Kent's book on the retreat.
Yep.
If we were to do a raffle where everyone kicked in $5 to pay for the American Battlefield Trust, made a donation of just $5, and then sent us a copy that you did it, we'd put you into a raffle and we'll send you a copy of the book.
Yep.
So how about that? So,
Yeah.
so if you win it, and it'll be plenty of time before you buy it, and then we'll mail it out to you. So this way we raise a little money for the ABT for this whole thing, and then we can probably have an opportunity to get someone some free books too, because some of these books are
exactly.
expensive. So if you're interested in that, we'll talk more about that. But that was the latest idea du jour going through all this stuff. So
yeah, and the other announcement we have too is that we wanted to make this book club and just like this whole community as interactive as possible. And we understand that not everybody is going to be able to make the Zoom meeting where we discuss it because of like scheduling or whatever, or maybe Zoom is just not your thing. So we wanted to come up with ways to make it more interactive. So the one thing that we are going to be launching, I hope to launch it today on our website, is a discussion board. So it's a place for you guys to come and talk about the Civil War, and there'll be different topics, but one of the boards is actually to do with the book club. And we're going to be coming up with a hashtag on Twitter, so you can discuss it on there, and you can also discuss it on our Facebook page. So we want everybody to be included in this. Right.
So basically, here's what you do. Make a $5 donation. You can do it right to their website, okay? Or however, okay? Email us at the Civil War Breakfast Club at gmail.com, because we haven't got our email set up yet for the other one. And we'll put you into a raffle, and we'll pick it in plenty of time, and we'll mail the book out, so you guys will have a copy of the book. And again, it's all tax deductible. It all goes for the Battlefield Trust. It's doesn't pay for any of Mary's liquor, so don't worry about that. God knows she's got enough of that. Definitely not bourbon though. But that's
we're not making any money off this podcast.
Yeah, no kidding. But this way, it's a way to raise some money. So maybe every dollar counts. I mean, I think we all donate different amounts of money for things, but it's only $5, and and so you can do more if you want. But we figured it'd be reasonable. But just email us whatever they send you, and we'll keep track of it. And we'll put it into a receipt, and we'll pick it.
But then when it gets closer to when we're going to be reading Dr. Rubin's book, we'll do the draw for that. And then when it gets closer to, so basically it'll be 3 separate times throughout the year that we'll be doing it.
And we decided we're not going to do the first book because I think a lot of people have already bought it.
Yeah, and we didn't think that was very fair.
No, because this idea just came to us a couple of days ago, actually. Yeah. But so anyway, so we'll do that soon though, because people might want to start reading the other one, right? So we should probably think about a date. But whatever you want to do it. We'll keep track of it. We'll send it off.
Yeah,
and we'll
we will announce it on our Facebook page within the week. Probably I'll do a blog post about it. We'll announce it on Twitter and Facebook, and then it'll be open for a certain period of time to make those donations, and then we'll close it, do the draw, and then we'll do it again for the other 2 books that are left.
Yeah, we'll have fun. American Battlefield Trust, they don't know about it yet, but we'll so don't tell them. No, we'll tell them. But we'll do that. But we think it's a good idea. We think that's fine. Automate race. It really came out of the fact, like what Jim had just reiterated, Mary. God, only 15% of Stones River has been preserved. 15%, right? Yeah. And so all these battlefields. Look, the reality is 50 years from now, as this war gets further and further away from the public conscious, there's gonna be less. It could be 0. Yeah, exactly. So and we're not gonna raise a shit ton of money, but it's something along that field. So so definitely
every little bit helps with the preservation, all that. And I mean, Battlefield is one of my favorite Twitter accounts too.
Oh, they're good people though. And they sent some free swag, Mary. They hooked us
I know,
up.
they did. Yeah. They did. I am probably the only person in Southwestern Ontario that has an ABT license plate holder as well as a bumper sticker. And I just found another bumper sticker to put on my car, as well as a bumper sticker that I got at Chickamauga.
Oh, you want to hear about loser status? Marry me. I'm sitting in a red light the other day with my license plate. My tag is Gettysburg. Okay. Yeah. I'm at a red light blasting the freaking Gettysburg theme movie in a red light with my window down. Talk about a freaking complete utter 0. Yeah. But anyway, so that's the thing with that. So I'm not going to spend too much time with that. Hey, Jeff, but basically that's what we're going to do. So do it as soon as you can, because the sooner we get it, we should probably pick some dates, so because people want to.
Yeah, no, that's what we can we're like I said, what we'll do is we'll pick a date today for the first one that'll be open for a certain number of weeks, and then it'll close, and then we'll pick another date when the next one will be, and another one after that, and we will announce that very, very soon.
Yeah, so that's that. So definitely do it. Even though I already have the books, I'm going to put in money. I'm going to do it myself, Mary, because I give a bunch of money anyway every year, so it's fine.
Yeah, I do too.
Shut up, Mary. Where do you get those? I assume she's talking about the license plate, not the bourbon.
The swag. Battlefields was very nice and sent it to me, and then they sent me a bumper sticker to a few years ago when I signed up for it, and then the Chattanooga bumper sticker I bought when I was at Chattanooga.
No, they gave us all the they give us the same thing. It's just some stickers, but yeah, all the stuff that they have, you can buy it on their website. If you go on
Hmm.
the Battlefield Trust website, they sell cups and mugs and hats and T-shirts
Yep.
but I forget why the hell they even gave that stuff to. Why we got
Because
that
we were
actually.
we were like retweeting them, and they just were like, "Hey, we're talking about how I don't know." Somebody mentioned swag, and then one of us said, "Oh man, I would love something like that." It
Yeah, and then they
was really
both reached out
awesome,
to us
though.
and
It
said,
was
"Hey,
really
let's give
awesome
us
of
your
them.
address. We'll send you some shits." I'm like, "All right." So I put that on my license plate now, so I got that. So anyway, yeah, so that's that. Not until January 20th. That's when my copy gets here.
Mhm.
All right. Well, you know what? Even if don't anyway. If you already have the book, then that's totally cool. But otherwise, we'll do it soon. And we're gonna do it for the rest of the second, third, and fourth books for the 2021.
Yeah.
So, and maybe Mary, there might be some more surprises that we're not going to tell about right now,
All right, there might be.
right?
Yep,
So
exactly.
definitely want to take advantage of it. So anyway,
Yep.
so that's cool. That's cool. Those
Yep.
books are good. I haven't read the Rubin book, admittedly. I got to read that one.
It's really, really good. I'm really enjoying Black Iron Mercy a lot. I loved Assassin's Accomplice, and I have yet to read Retreat from Gettysburg, but I'm very much looking forward to that. The Through the Heart of Dixie is I really enjoyed it. She's a very, very good author. I love the way she writes, and she pulls in like pop culture stuff about Sherman too. Like it's really just a
Mhm.
great explanation, like exploring historical memory in Sherman's March.
There's some friends who have books that we're probably going to use for future ones too. Um, uh, the other one we got to think about doing, Mary, eventually is Dr. Reardon's book on the PPT,
Yeah, yeah, I think we definitely need
right?
to do that one for
The
2022.
Pickett Pettigrew Trimble
Yeah,
charge, we call it here.
as I love to call it now.
It's a PPT,
Yeah.
but that's a great book. But all these books are good. We all read. We all
Hmm.
spend a lot of time reading this stuff. We're all dyed from the same loser cloth as all of us are. So but it's a good thing. It's a badge of honor. And
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah. Um, Jim says that a lot of joggers use Stones River Battlefield. They do have a fair share of visitors, but nothing like the bigger battlefields. I suppose that's because that only 15% of the battlefield has been preserved, and the rest of the battlefield has been built over. Medical Center Parkway and the Avenue Shopping Center now occupy a large swath of the battlefield that will never be reclaimed. That sucks.
well, even before the only thing they've done that I've disagreed with was when they took out the hotel at Gettysburg, where the
Yeah.
Lee headquarters is, because I
Yeah.
love that hotel and God, and be able to wake up and be right there. It was a lot of town, so you had to Uber in out of the city if you're going to
Yeah.
go to the restaurants and partake in some of the nighttime activities in the borough, Mary.
Yeah.
But I liked it the way it was. That's the one thing that I get it. I totally do, and it does look cool. But I love that hotel though. That was a good hotel.
That's cool. I do vaguely remember that one from I think my first visit.
Oh, really? We still stay there every year. We still go every year and stay at the same hotel.
Yeah, I
Now we
think I
stay at the
do.
we stay at the other one downtown, which is now they know me by name when I call them now. Hey, Darren, what?
Yeah.
Like, I have my own room. They give me a room 217 is booked for me whenever I go. So it's always kind of fun.
Yep.
I go whatever.
I'd rather stay at those hotels than say like the chain ones. I think. I don't know.
No, you gotta protect the local businesses.
Exactly.
No question about
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. Um, Ben says, "Hey, shocker! Me and Weeks disagree on something." Must be referring to the hotel.
Well, Ben, have you stayed at that hotel though? I mean, back in the past, I mean, it looks great and it's a nice place to stop. But it was cool because when you stayed there, you got to go to the museum. It was right there and it was free and they had a
Yeah.
nice little museum area. And it was right downtown. The ABC, the Appalachian Brewing was right next to it, so you can go and have a couple beers right there on site. It was cool, but it was also one of the first hotels. It wasn't the first one, but it was one of the first ones I stayed at when I went there. And so I stayed there a handful of times. So I just kind of had an affinity to it. And I like the staff, and they all kind of got dispersed. And so, although, you know what,
That sucks.
Mary, as I sit here now, they were going to give me one of the pictures in the rooms, and they never did.
Those
I never just
fuckers.
realized that. They said, well, when we close, you stay here like 3 times a year. We'll give you one of those. It was like a big print. It was like the Iron Brigade going through Herbst Woods, and it was like a
Yeah.
nice picture. I think it was a strain actually.
Nice.
And
He's a beautiful artist, but he does a lot of Confederate stuff.
mhm,
I
you
have the
know,
whole book of his artwork, and some of it I'm like, could you paint some Union guys, maybe?
no, but it was good. But I do feel bad. Yeah, Paul just mentioned the point. I feel bad for the people who work in there
Yeah.
because they announced that it was the summer. I think it was 2012 or 11, right
Yeah.
around there. Maybe I remember the year wrong. Maybe it was a little later, but they were good people. And but it was a great place. It was. And you know what, though? It's now we stay at a different place, which is really, really cool, too. But I did like it. Admittedly, I just did. But that shouldn't dissuade you, Fincher, from donating to the ABT. You should
Oh,
definitely still
never
do
would.
it.
Nothing would dissuade me from donating to them. They're
I
my
don't want you.
favorite charity to donate to.
I don't want you coming out of here thinking I'm not doing it now. You know, because I know God knows how you are. Oh, you flip me off all you want. But I think it's a good thing. Well, you came with art again, huh? Okay, good.
You have a new flag?
It's the same one as last time. I told you. I had the
flag.
Yeah, you got a flag, all right.
Actually, I do have new artwork.
What does that say? Claimer. Oh, what does it say? It's better than stone. Is that what this says?
Yes.
Okay, I can't read. I can't read it.
I know.
Reading glasses on.
It says Claiborne's greater than Stonewall.
I would agree with that too. But anyway, so definitely donate to that. That's fun. That'll be a good thing to do. We can give those books away. That book club will be a good time though. It'll be a lot of fun doing that.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's a great way to showcase books that maybe wouldn't be as popular as say ones written by Sears or more some of the other mainstream authors, because there's a lot of great Civil War writing out there. Like you said, Black Iron Mercy is right up there with Killer Angels. Like it's such a well-written book.
Has anybody who's on this, who's bought the book, started to read it yet? If you have, let us know in the comments what you think about it, because I love this book.
Yeah, I love it too.
I think this book is just, like to your point, Mary, is just as good as Black Iron Mercy, or anything Jeff Sharer's written. You know, I mean, Michael Sharer's, obviously the other one, but yeah. it's just a good book, and it's very historically tight. There's not a lot of stuff about that, but certainly,
Allie Kay says she likes the books.
Well, the books are fun, and like we said last time we did this, is nothing better than when you get a new book in the mail, even if you're not going to read it for 25 years. Because at 800 ahead of it, you get that new book, you smell it, you listen to it. It's oh god. Well,
I made the ultimate sacrifice last night. I sacrificed all my Amazon gift cards for a new chair because I'm tired of sitting in this wooden kitchen chair. So I got myself a fancy gamer chair.
Andrew, yes, it's historical. It's actually a historical fiction.
Yep,
it's a historical novel, I guess.
Okay, yeah, novel. Yeah.
It basically, it's not like they're making stuff up. It's God, I don't want to say like Red Badge of Courage-ish, but it's kind of like that in a way where they put a guy in one of the Wisconsin regiments, and they follow him through the Civil War. And he goes to Antietam, he goes to Gettysburg, and it's a lot of personal stories.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting the way he does it, but it's very historically accurate. So fiction's kind of a tough word.
It's like a novel.
Yeah.
Jeff says, if y'all ever make it down to Stones River, let me know, and I'll take y'all to the hidden stone carving on the banks of the river that was carved by Daniel Miller of the 115th Ohio, who carved the Hazen's Brigade Monument. Mm-hmm. Jim says there's very little monuments on the field and a very few tour stops. Visiting the battlefield today, it is very hard to tell what happened if you haven't studied up on the battlefield. For a better understanding, I highly recommend Matt Sproul's Winter Lightning, A Guide to the Battle of Stones River. It's a great guidebook and takes you to all the important sites outside of the battlefield. Thank you for that, Jim. Jim is excellent at book enabling everybody on here. He knows his Civil War books quite well, and he has quite an extensive collection.
Yeah, and Tim, yes, I'm looking forward to getting your book. So thanks for sending that. I'll look forward to getting that. I'm sure we'll be talking about that on these parts.
Andrea said historical fiction a la Shara. I do love Shara. Admittedly, I love The Smoke at Dawn. That is one of my all-time favorite books. It's about the battles for Chattanooga. The characters in it are awesome. Like, he writes them so well. He writes Bragg so well to the point I want to strangle him at the end of every one of Bragg's chapters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, look what I'm doing again. Seriously.
Why?
Because I had one left. I found one in the back of the fridge. I just had to get rid of it.
Oh. No.
What? What are you, Audrey Hepburn now with that dramatic oh no? No, there was one more, and I had to get rid of it.
Shitty beer?
Yeah, I got good ones. I got some Trillium and some stuff too, but I had to get rid of it.
Why would you do that? That's like...
Why do they call Mount Everest, Mary? Because it was there. It was there.
You can dump out shitty beer. You do realize.
I'm not dumping out shit.
I do it all the time.
Well, that's okay. Well, you're not from Boston then, because here you finish where you start. No soldier left behind. I crack this. This tastes like swill, but you know what? God damn it, it's gonna be finished today, and this is gonna be the last of it. You know.
Allie B, Darren, you can't be fucking for real. You should know better. Oh, Allie B, you have no idea. None.
It's not good. It sucks. But you know what? If I don't get rid of it, see, here's what's going to happen, Mary, is that'll sit there and stare at me forever, right? Until I finally drink it. And the longer it goes, the worse it's going to be. So I just have to get it over with. I just got to do it. But this is the last of it, though. This is finally, I thought it was all gone last
Thank
time. Really,
God.
I thought this was it. But unfortunately, there was one more in the back of the fridge. And when I was going through my beers earlier, I had to do this. So yes, it's gross. And you know what?
It's gross.
The only shitty beers, I don't like Corona either, but yeah. I think I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
But you know what? I have a lot of good beers here. And, you know,
You can get rid of this thing called the garbage. It's very nice. Allie B, I've tried.
You know what though?
I've tried.
It's a pride thing. I'm just, when it comes to certain things like beer, I don't know if stubborn's the word, but you know what? It's just this is one of those things. I'll wake up at 3:00 in the morning and say, "Fuck, that beer is still there. I gotta drink it." And then next thing you know, it's summertime and it's old and it's gonna really taste bad. So I figure right now, fortunately, it says limited release on it, so it's probably never gonna come back again. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna finish this one up right now, and you know what? I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna force myself to like it. So you can be supportive once in a while. Be helpful. That'd be cool, actually. But you know, whatever.
Jeff says there is a pretty good brewery here in Murfreesboro called Mayday that has Stones River Lager. Pretty good stuff. Well, I think we will definitely have to go there weeks when we visit Stones River. Good morning, Jonathan, and Happy New Year. Andrea says she's going to be reading State of Jones because her 9-year-old gave her the book. That's awesome.
It's just, well, I'm just going to tell you straight. It's not good beer, Mary. It's not. But
Jim says thank you for the Twitter shout. Yeah, you're welcome, Jim.
Yeah, Jim writes a really, really good Civil War blog that you got to check out. If you follow Jim on Twitter, Jim, throw your handle in the comments. And I'm sure you guys follow him anyway, but if you don't follow him, because he's got a really good blog, it's really cool stuff he reads. So,
and he's a good dude. We're so happy to have him as part of this.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, but definitely read his stuff though, because it makes you think. It's not just the usual stuff that people talk about. It's just I get a kick out of it. I'll read anything, but I definitely do that. He's definitely not the harpoon pumpkin of harpoon beer Duncan of podcasts.
Ryan says that your attitude towards beer is the same as Burnside's attitude to the Rebel Army. It's just going to stare at me. Fuck it, let's just do it. It'll feel better afterwards. Learning the lessons of Civil War.
But that's what it is,
though. Stop charging Mary's heights with the beer. That's exactly what it is.
It's going to be there. I've got to get rid of it, and no one else is going to drink it. And I'm just going to get rid of it, and it's going to sit there. And the longer it goes, the worse it's going to be. It's like that scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off with Cameron Fry. He's going to call him. He's going to call him. He's going to call me. That scene. Yeah, it's the same thing. That's why I just got. So this will be the last time. So this will be it. So
Andrea said, use the beer in chili, spaghetti, or beer bread. That's what I do with shitty beer sometimes too. But I also use high quality IPAs in my chili.
But Paul's right. Awesome. I can't put jelly donut beer in chili.
Well, fuck.
I mean, what is this, Rhode Island?
YOLO it.
Sorry, Ben. But
David said you guys are so funny. Thank you.
Oh yeah, hilarious. All right. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. But anyway, that's the way that is. So, you know, I'm gonna you know what? Ryan's right. I'm gonna Burnside this. I'm gonna charge Marie's Heights with this. I'm gonna fall on the field. You know, I'm gonna fa with this shit, Mary. That's what we're gonna do with this.
That's a new thing. When you Burnside a beer, you charge Mary's Heights over and over again and drink the shitty beer.
Too funny. All right. Anyway, so that's pretty funny stuff. But
next week it'll magically appear again, and Darren will be like, "The last one, I swear," as his handshake.
No, this is really it. This is it. And I hear her, and I do. Andrew, don't say you put chili on spaghetti over there in Cincinnati. You give me that freaking gross sign. You're picnic either with that Skyline chili you guys have, but no, this is actually it. I thought this was it before. I was cleaning out my fridge and looking at some of the beers I had this morning. I found this, and so but I'm gonna put it in my koozie, my emotional support beer koozie.
Chug it and get it over with.
That's what I'm doing.
You don't appear to be chugging it. You appear to be sipping it.
What are you drinking? Are you crazy?
What am I drinking? I'm drinking a sour cherry IPA. It's quite delicious, actually.
Okay, good. Well, I got some better beers. Anyway, so so Burnside.
What? Johnny, sure. Make sure better check the door.
I
Skyline
checked.
chili is a fucking war crime.
It is. So I think it was when I was in Cincinnati. I think Andrea mentioned to me, God, over a year ago now, about the skyline chili. You remember? She, you
Yeah,
better not fucking
ew,
eat that skyline chili.
ew.
No way.
No,
It looks disgusting. You know.
yeah,
Oh
no,
wow.
no,
Anyway,
thank you.
Ohio's bad enough, Mary. I don't eat skyline chili. I'm kidding, maybe. Um,
Ohio is the home of Cedar Point, which is the roller coaster capital of the world, apparently. And I do love roller coasters. And I'm a season's ticket holder. Not this year though; couldn't go. So.
I'll tell you about it. How about those
And
people?
I always go to Johnson's Island when I'm there. I've been there many times.
Those people who bought those like only single year airline passes for like upgrades for free, like those fast passes you have to wait
Yeah,
in line.
yeah.
Wasted. Yeah, I guess who did that? You know. But anyway, so basically it's a it's a lot of fun going to this stuff with this stuff. But anyway,
Yep.
yeah. So we'll put a to put a bow on that whole thing with the with the whole thing. Donate that. Email us the copy of the receipt. We're going to keep track of it. We're going to hope someone will win a book, and that'll be pretty cool. So yeah, Russo, I'm looking at you. So you'll be a part of this, and we'll get a book. We'll get a book for you as well.
Jim said, let's all buy him a 6-pack and ship it to him. Yeah, we're all going to ship Darren decent beer now.
Oh, you know what?
You don't need beer. Neither do I. I've got so much right
I
now.
mean, these aren't the droids you're looking for with the bad beer.
Oddly enough, I got beer for Christmas from one of my friends.
Oh, there you go. I got I did
Michael
too
bought me
actually.
beer.
I got a bunch of stuff, but no, this place is the king of beers here with Treehouse and Trillium and Knockabout and Mayflower and all that stuff. So New England, especially Massachusetts, is the best for beer. But anyway, um,
Brian said, we've stopped sending you lot beverages since you started dumping them in the sea.
there's a reason why people won't drink tea here.
Canada. We didn't do that here in Canada.
Well, maybe you should have. You wouldn't have the.
No, Andrew, I have not been to Kings Island, but it is on my bucket list since I'm a bit of a roller coaster fiend in my non-Civil War life. I do love roller coasters.
Yeah, definitely. So what did you? So we'll try to get this back on topic,
Yeah.
I guess. But what were some of your takeaways, Mary, about Stones River though? Because we both know about this. People studied in the past, but we really spent really in depth into this and going over the actual X's and O's in this. And what did you come out of this with this? What did you take away?
I was going to ask you that question this morning too. So mine were the main one was just how this is such a different Rosecrans from Chickamauga, and it made me want to learn more about him. And then when I started looking at that and looking how Grant was, it made me, like I said, still love General Grant, but it really makes me see the bias that exists. To the other thing, how close they could have come to losing this and what that would have, the repercussions that would have had. Like if the Confederates had somehow won and retaken Nashville and gotten back into Kentucky, then who knows what troops would have had to be pulled from the Vicksburg campaign to fight battles in that area. And then that's going to affect the Vicksburg campaign. So there's all these little repercussions. And two, Murfreesboro winning that is basically the gateway to opening the road to eventually getting to Chattanooga.
Well, it would affect it. That Nashville certainly would have been lost. There's no question they would have been lost realistically.
Yeah.
But yeah, good point. I mean, we talked about Carter Stevenson going to Vicksburg and how that would have affected that whole. All these things are like dominoes, and any one of these things, like the butterfly effect. Something happens that affects something else down the road. People definitely don't study the West as they should. Right?
No, they don't.
We joke about the whole Gettysburg Industrial Complex thing, but it's sort of true. Not to minimize a Gettysburg or an Antietam or any of those battles, but I think when you study these Western ones, see, think of a football analogy, right?
Yeah.
Gettysburg and the Eastern battles are the quarterbacks. That's Brady, Manning, Mahomes. The Western battles are the linemen. The ones they're nameless, faceless, but they do all the work, right? And these other battles seem to get all the glory. That's kind of how I look at it.
They absolutely do. So that's one of your takeaways is just like the Western theater again, showing how overlooked it is. And I think too, it's not necessarily about putting Gettysburg and Antietam down lower. It's about elevating these battles in the Western theater to their level because they are just as important. They factor into the story of the Civil War. But two, the Civil War, it's like General Grant won that, right? We don't remember that there was these early generals like Rosecrans who had successes that are paving the way for General Grant to have the successes he had.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
another thing to remember as well.
you look at the whole war in a big picture and look at it and not just focus specifically on the big names. So like we said, we've said this a million times, Mary. People look at the Civil War, they look at Fort Sumter, they look at Bull Run, Antietam, Gettysburg, Vicksburg, if they even know Vicksburg, to be honest. I mean, let's be honest, half
Yeah.
the people in the mainstream. When I was in school, and I mean high school, and we did a 1 week of the American Civil War, which they didn't even do anymore
Yeah.
because um, it was Sumter, it was Gettysburg, and it was Appomattox, and that was about it. Um, and as you study more about it, those battles don't happen. Every one of those battles is the result of the previous battle, right? Like we
Hmm.
talked before, we were talking about Second Manassas, how it led into Antietam, right?
Yeah.
And how important ultimately Antietam really was in the grand scheme of things.
Hmm.
More important than Gettysburg, it was. It
Yep,
just
it was.
was.
It was
It,
because
it
it changed the war into being about slavery. It made
well, but at
that
the
the legit
time,
reason.
because but if the Union had lost Antietam, coming off of all those losses, the 7 days, Second Manassas, it could have affected a lot about that. Um, it was just one of those things where a loss in Antietam could have been a game changer. That could have been it. Now Gettysburg was coming off of losses too. Admittedly, it came off of a lot of the ones that Lee did, Chancellorsville specifically, but that was a year later,
Yeah.
and you had those wins. You had um, some of the wins in the West that had happened in between. So, but that's just our own opinion. And if you think Gettysburg is more important,
Yeah.
then knock yourself out. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's why we discussed like this is just our opinion and how we interpret stuff. It doesn't mean like anybody's wrong for having the opposite opinion. Like that's absolutely not the case at all. Ryan said Rosecrans has two absolute dud corps commanders. I mean, Thomas is like a Union general +5 of awesomeness, definitely. But Crittenden and McCook not really top drawer. They aren't even middle. No, they're not. Like McCook, like Sheridan goes to McCook's like there's nothing there, and Sheridan's like, fine, I'm taking things into my own hands. And good thing that Sheridan did, because I think that's like Sheridan shines here.
Sheridan definitely did a lot about that. He basically, um, you know, he, we talked about the Cedar Creek thing, all the stuff he done since Cedar Point. He was riding
I
those roller
noticed.
coasters. I know, just Claudio heard that one. Stupid thing. But no, he's someone who does a lot. Now, he didn't exactly endear himself later on as the war went on. I mean, talk to your boy G.K. Warren about Sheridan. He probably wouldn't have good things to say.
Oh, neither would Meade.
But it was one of those things. But no, it's pretty neat to really go into this and study all that stuff. And
Yeah. Jeff
um,
says, look into the connection between Stones River and the Tullahoma campaign. The
mhm.
Tullahoma campaign is very underrated. Through that, the campaign through that campaign, Rosecrans gains control of Middle Tennessee with minimal casualties. Even the logistical side of the campaign is brilliant. Yeah, again, this goes back to the whole like it's so not really talked about, but Stones River and Tullahoma are so important in how the rest of the war plays out.
Mhm.
Um, I really do think that the Western theater, in many ways, was the more military strategic victories, and in the Eastern theater, I mean, it's the same thing, but it's a little bit more morale, right? Gettysburg is more
Mhm.
of that moral victory. Vicksburg is that strategic victory they need in order to hold the Mississippi River.
No,
Um,
Andrew, what did Anderson do after? He ended up going. Oh, he ended up going out to Kentucky afterwards. Robert Anderson. He didn't
mhm.
do much. He ended up doing a lot of recruiting. He ended up kind of. He ended up basically doing the department. What was oh God, what the hell? The department, not the army, of the Department of the Cumberland is what he did.
Yeah,
So he would basically go there. He did that for not long, maybe a year, maybe even a couple of months. But he was short term. He basically went on like a recruiting tour in Kentucky is what he did
he did.
after Sumter. And then he
I don't think he
after
was
that, who
necessarily
knows?
villainized at all. Like
No, I don't
he
think
did
so.
his
I don't think so.
best.
And
You know.
he was a friend of Beauregard.
Yep, he
You know,
was.
he certainly was.
Imagine that
But
your friend is like about to launch what was Beauregard like, sorry, dude, but it's business. It's not
no,
personal.
no. But he ended up here in New England, Mary. He ended up in
Hmm.
Iraq. Speaking of Warren, because that's where he's buried, he ended up up in Newport, Rhode Island, for a little bit, doing some sort of military assignment there. But he basically would have just kind of more of an advisor, more of a recruiter type thing is kind of what his focus was. But that's kind of what he did.
Hmm.
I'm not sure where he's buried though.
Yeah,
thought about that.
I thought I knew, but
I've seen his grave somewhere, but that's what he. But that's so he. So to answer your question, he ended up going to Kentucky, recruiting, ended up in Rhode Island, and then that was pretty much it.
Jim makes the same point that you did too, Darren, in the podcast about the artillery.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the battlefield highlights the usefulness of artillery in their ranger talks. They frequently host several groups of reenactors who do artillery, infantry, and cavalry demonstrations, but the artillery pretty much saved Rosecrans-Bacon. And that's what you had mentioned when they put that artillery, in that one place where the Orphan Brigade gets slaughtered.
Well, I think it was probably the most well-placed artillery. It's right up there. It's right up there with Fredericksburg. It's right up there with East Cemetery Hill, Gettysburg. As far as they would use those French ordnance glasses, those pendulum hosses to mark the field, and they had it perfectly. 45 guns marked almost perfectly, and that really absolutely. I mean that was 45 minutes to an hour is how long it took them. The Rebs had to retreat.
And Breckinridge is like he tried. He was like. And even when Breckinridge went back to the command, like to the guy that led the Orphan Brigade and said, this is what's going to happen. The guy was like, why? Like, fuck this. We're going to get massacred. And they did.
Yeah, they did. Anderson, Bart, West Point. That makes sense. Thanks for looking that up. I've seen his grave. I don't know. And then I guess I haven't seen his grave. I think it was a picture somewhere. But anyway, so there's your
is he buried near, I think he might be buried near Beaufort.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I know what's his name.
Coming to mind about it.
Kilpatrick's buried right near Cushing. I know that because I've seen that picture many times. So
now I need to
go to
West Point.
West Point is awesome. Oh my God, is West Point awesome?
Ben said he was stationed at Fort Adams in Newport, then retired in '63.
Yeah, I knew he was in Newport, down there. So he's got a little bit of Rhode Island history, Ben. So he probably would have been a big Wheaton guy, probably too.
And Jim said that the Stones River battlefield includes a major section of the curtain wall of Fort Rosecrans, the largest earthwork fort built in the United States. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Allie B said, what's even funnier if that I think Buckner thought Grant would give nicer terms like PGT did, and Grant was like, nah, unconditional surrender, and Buckner was all annoyed.
I mean, Grant was great at Donaldson, obviously great at Vicksburg. We're going to talk about Vicksburg, Mary,
Grant
next
was
week.
Talented. Like, we're not trying to be anti-Grant with this. We're just trying to, I think what it is, it's about telling the story too of these men that don't have as much of a voice, and remembering that they played a role. Like Rosecrans played a huge role in the early Civil War, and he had successes and victories that paved the way for Grant and Sherman to have the successes and victories they had, and they all deserve I think they all deserve like an equal voice in this too.
It's no question. And Ryan, Hazen does deserve a lot of credit. That's why I got my name on there. That's why I have my name for Hazen. Because he was against Breckinridge, and that Hell's Half Acre area.
Yeah.
He did a lot of good stuff with that. Sam Elliott. God, Sam Elliott.
Yeah. And I went with Lucretia Polk, because Polk was at this battle. He's an interesting character, I think.
But again, go back to the Grant thing is. Don't think that anyone's being anti-Grant. All we're trying to say is these are humans. These are regular people with goals, with dreams, with aspirations, and they knew how to get to them. Now, Grant did what he had to do. He was probably the greatest general after George Washington this country's probably ever had. But he's a guy who did what he wanted to do, and sometimes it was not. It was at the detriment of others.
It was sketchy. I mean, Lookout Mountain is sketchy.
And I don't buy it at all. Again, too, and you had his rivals, right, taking shots at him. That's where all the drinking stuff came from. Yes, he did drink, but think about it. You got a popular general who was high up on the food chain. You find a way to take him down, right? The best, just because that's human nature. You can't get to their level, so you try to bring them back to your level, right?
Exactly.
We talk about all the time. And so there was a lot of that stuff, the politics, the infighting. Doesn't mean he's bad by any stretch of imagination. It just means that when you look at him, he wanted to make sure that his team was going to be the winning team in the Republican Party after the war. And that's not a shot on him. That's just the human nature part of it. And maybe if you look at the politics today, it's the same concept.
And Jen Rowling commented, and Andrea agreed with her, that what she loves about this is like how we humanize them. And that's exactly what we wanted to do going into this. They're not just
that was the whole point of this, actually.
Yeah, they're not just dots on a map. We wanted to not just tell the story of these battles, but to look at how this all intertwines together, and not only leads to the Union winning the war, but how are these people interacting with each other and just what's human about them, you know, that they're not just, as you said, they're not just like robots, right? They're humans.
They're not. They're not. And Andrew, you can love Grant all you want. We all have our binkies, and that's totally cool. I mean,
Yeah.
God knows
Hey,
this one.
Howard.
I was going to say this one likes Howard, and God knows I
Love
like
Howard.
Tilden. But again, you know, look at the both sides of the whole thing with this, and again, you know what? There's no guarantee how history would have been the same without Grant. So he's
Exactly.
obviously he's on the absolute masthead of American history when it comes to these things. But just understand that he wanted to be that masthead, right?
Yep, he did. Yeah.
And then there's no shot on him, but I mean, you want to be the best.
Yeah, there's just others that get
Sherman's yours.
yeah, Sherman, yep.
And same with
Sherman's hers and mine's Howard.
Sherman again. Sherman's. You want to talk about a polarizing dude. Mentioned last week. He's loved or hated depending on where you are in the country, right?
Yeah.
Now you can't deny the fact though that Sherman, his march, his total war ultimately saved lives. Now people don't want to hear that in the South because they all they think about is he walked around and the Drew Barrymore was a fire starter wherever he went. He's pointing to stuff. But ultimately and that's which is not always 100% true. People forget that Hood burned most of Atlanta.
Yeah. And it was only 30% of the city as well. It wasn't the whole fucking thing that went up in flames. It was just 30%. Jonathan said, how important were some of the middle of the road generals in the war in helping to organize troops and lead them? The great generals could not be everywhere. Yeah, there's some of these lesser known, like the lower down ones that don't get the credit they deserve, like you were talking.
We talk like that guy.
Yeah, right? Tilden. See the flag?
Right, that's the flag.
But the other important point you raised too, after we did Chickamauga, is does Thomas deserve all the credit for what he did with that stand against the Confederates to save the Union Army while they were retreating back into Chattanooga? The other men involved deserve the credit too.
Well, I remember mentioning that. You got all mad at me that day, Mary.
I did not get angry with you.
Oh,
I just
you gave me that mead at the War Council look. When I mentioned that, right? Because you did though.
Picture.
But
I came around.
Well, yeah, but okay, fine. But what my point was, he had fallen back at Chattanooga. Yep. While these guys were still fighting on the field. Now, all I was saying was that the subordinate generals, his division guys, his brigade guys, those are the ones who ultimately saved the whole thing at Snodgrass. It doesn't mean that he didn't. It just means that sometimes you have to give credit to these soldiers. The players win. Sometimes the coaches don't get too much credit when the players win the game. And that was my whole point.
Yeah. So
get off your high horse, Fisher.
But I came around to agreeing with you and seeing it from the way that you were seeing it, and I never had before. And that's what I love about doing this is like my opinions have changed so much about certain figures of the Civil War, and I'm seeing it in a completely different light because of these discussions that you and I have about it. But yeah, I do think that there needs to be more credit given. And Thomas doesn't need all the credit for Snodgrass Hill. It's the ones that ran there after. But
Thomas, I am not going to bash George Thomas, especially to you.
Because Jeff, that's his favorite. Jeff says that Thomas is my favorite. Side note, tell me John Goodman wouldn't play a good George Thomas.
We said that, Mary.
Yeah, we said that.
Didn't we? Was it exactly what we said?
Yeah.
Because he's good though. I mean, he gets bad publicity because that whole that Rosie show, but he's a good actor, Mary. But he would be a perfect George. We're gonna make that happen. I don't know how the hell it's gonna happen, but we'll make it.
It'll be a Civil War Breakfast Club miniseries about the Western Theater.
Oh God, imagine that. I'll be in it. I'll be that guy. Sir, the bond's on fire. Big line. But like the thing about it is as you study these guys and you look at the overall picture, like Thomas gets a lot of credit. You know why he gets a lot of credit too? It's because he has some great quotes about the war, right?
Oh, he did.
Chattanooga, he said, bury them together. I'm sick of states' rights. When they were asked if they should bury in state lines, he had the great line about here. This army does not retreat. This is a great place to die.
Yep.
I'm not saying that overshadows what he did, but he's a guy. When you look back at the Civil War, had some great quotes, he's one of the heroes with this, and he's a guy who probably could have easily taken over. He was going to be the guy in charge of the 14th, the XIV, right? Is that 14? The XIV, which became the Army of the Cumberland. He was going to take that over before Rosecrans. Such a dick. But But again, he's a guy who really deserves a lot of credit, but most people in the mainstream don't even know who he is. They think George Thomas is the guy who was an ET, which he was, by the way. Was it George? Henry Thomas? Was that who it was?
It's Henry Thomas.
Yeah, that's who it was. So he was.
Well, just edit that one out.
No, but he was, though. But most people think who that was, Well, like people think Robert Gould Shaw was in Jaws.
Exactly.
My friend Emily thinks that. She's related to the fucking guy.
I watched part of that movie yesterday. I watched the end of it. It was on TV. It's like
Jaws or E.T.?
Jaws.
Oh, okay.
But the other thing too with Thomas is he's not one of these ones that, he's not going after people like, politicians to have his, like, for a higher rank. Like he very well should have had command of the 14th Corps or Army of the Cumberland, as it later becomes known as, which you gave me shit for calling it.
Just trying to keep it real, right. Fetcher.
Hey, Laura, my friend Laura's watching. She actually,
hey, Laura.
Yeah, she lives in Sharpsburg, Maryland. You've been visited her out before.
Another person jealous of what they love. Robert Gould Shaw wasn't in jail. Yeah, exactly. There's a long story behind that. I don't feel like telling right now, but one of my friends who was related to to Charles Russell Lowell. So Josephine Shaw is related, through marriage to Robert Gould Shaw. I mentioned that she was related to him, and she goes, "Oh, the guy from Jaws? I'm related to the guy from Jaws." But that's an inside joke. Doesn't matter.
But anyway, Jeff says that one of Thomas's nicknames was the Sledge of Nashville. That's a badass nickname, yeah. And the other thing with Thomas is he doesn't have the voice in history like Grant has. And one of the reasons for that is after he died, his wife burned all his papers because he was just like, I don't want anybody to read these at all. And he's having to struggle too with being a Virginian, right? Like he's from the same state as Robert E. Lee. He chooses to fight for the Union and he's got to prove himself. And I think Grant and Sherman were both very, like, they held that against him in some ways. And two, he's obviously Team Rosie as well, but he could have had command of the 14th Corps, but they chose Rosecrans instead. But Thomas didn't get, he wasn't taken aback by that or what. He saw, like, he was like, okay, fine, you can do it. But I think that the one thing that gets overlooked in this is that these two, Rosie and Thomas, were friends. And they worked, and they did work well together.
That was rare because you had the Burnside McClellan friendship at the beginning that disappeared after Antietam, but the Rosecrans Thomas one was one that Thomas could have gone the other way, but he wanted to stay friends with Rosecrans, which is ended up being really important.
And when Grant arrives in Chattanooga, the way he treats Thomas, he's a dick to him.
He was, yeah. Well, he becomes the Chickamauga Rock at the end of that battle, as we say.
Chickamauga Rock.
Versus the Rock of Plymouth.
Never going to fucking live that one down.
You will never live that one down.
I know.
Never, ever, ever.
Not the Rock of Plymouth?
Never, ever, ever.
Allie B says, now I'm just imagining him trying to take down a shark.
Oh, good. Well, Leonard, there's your meme.
Remember that one you made of Sherman's staff where you made Slocum into a shark?
No, what was that?
That was months ago. Remember we were talking about sharks on Twitter and you took that picture of Sherman's staff.
Oh, we were trying to convince your mother that Lake Huron had a shark.
Yeah, but then you took the picture of Sherman's staff and made Slocum into a shark.
Oh, that's right. It was one of those dancing sharks from that Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, and there's Slocum. He's a fucking shark.
Oh, God, the stuff we do is unbelievable.
But yeah, like General Thomas to me, and I don't know, I'm probably going to take shit for this opinion. He is the best the Union Army had. I see him
overall number one.
I think so. Yep.
Are you saying he's the GOAT?
Mm-hmm.
More than Howard?
Mm-hmm. Howard's still my favorite, but I see in many ways Thomas he's good. And like Grant criticizes him for being slow. Thomas was just methodical and thought things through. And yeah, he made mistakes like them all, but he doesn't deserve the criticism that he gets from Grant and Sherman. And we all know why that is. Like, Thomas is the reason they win Missionary Ridge.
Uh-huh.
I just remember when like Grant was saying, why are those men charging up the hill? And Thomas is like...
Yeah, he did. but he definitely, you got to get John Goodman to play that because he'd be perfect at that, actually.
John Goodman is, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the guy. We talked about this in one of these silly little live things we do about who would play who, but he'd be.
He'd be really good. He'd be amazing at it. Yeah.
But
Thomas is definitely one of those guys that, he's very, very underrated. He does well at Stones River. He does well pretty much wherever he is, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, and he's a guy that he lived through the whole thing, and he didn't really get the credit he did. If a Burbseye McPherson had lived through Atlanta, how he would have progressed
Exactly.
too. Because he
probably would have he probably would have been the right wing commander in the March to the Sea, I think.
Over OO?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
it's possible.
If Burbseye had lived, Howard would not have had to take his place, right?
I guess it depends how his career would have progressed from that. I mean, Burbseye was a guy. It's not because there's a reason why Blackjack Logan wasn't given that position, right? I think it depends on how things would have played itself out after that. But he very well could have. I'll tell you right now, McPherson, I think he could have been president someday, right? Because you look at these guys,
absolutely.
these Civil War guys, McKinley, obviously James Garfield.
Yep.
A lot of these guys came out of it, and he was a guy who was universally loved by just about everybody. He was really good. So I can totally see that happening.
Yeah,
but that was a big loss for the Union.
It was. Allie B said that he would have been a commander on the march. He would have been the right wing commander, and rightly so. Like he was supremely talented, and if you look at the writings about him, Sherman said this guy had everything going for him,
yeah.
And he's cut down like so quickly. And I think that was probably one of the biggest losses to the Western Theater armies was him.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, he probably. You're probably right. He probably would have been. I don't know if it would have been over Slocum. Now, Slocum had rank though, so it probably would have been.
But didn't Howard have rank over Slocum? No, he didn't.
No, Slocum did.
So it would have been Slocum. But then Sherman was choosing men based on how he felt about them, and I think he liked Howard a little bit better than Slocum, just judging about how he wrote to Howard and how he saw him.
So maybe Howard's running the right, and then Burbseye runs the left, or vice versa.
I think that's how it would have been. Yeah, I think they would have been the two commanders had McPherson lived. It would have been Howard and McPherson. I don't think it would have been Slocum because Sherman didn't like him as much as he liked Howard. And he definitely played who do I like the most with picking the men to do that, right?
Speaking of that, this is a bad call with this beer, Mary. I should have dumped this.
You Burnsided it. You should have dumped it. Oh my God.
It's just mercifully coming to an end.
You think that's what Burnside said after Mary's Heights? This was a bad call?
It probably was. There was the Dunkin' Donuts friggin' jelly donut beer of Civil War battles.
Where he's like, I'll take my own men and take it the next day.
But at least he kept the distance from it, though. He stayed over there, across the river. He didn't get right into it. But it was almost done, though. All right, it's over. It's done.
Are you sure that's the last one? You checked the door?
Yes, I actually did check. I checked. It's gone. It's over.
It's over. Two of them.
It's over, Johnny. So now I'm gonna switch to Trillium. So I'm making a real beer. So
nice. But yeah, did you answer the question that you asked me? Like, what did you take away from Stones River? Like
me? Yeah. I get it's these battles tend to repeat themselves over and over and over again, right? Like you've got situations where they tend to be they send the wrong people away at the wrong time. In this case, it was Stevenson, right? Mm-hmm. I think you have a pretty good battle plan by Bragg and a halfway decent one by Rosecrans.
Yep, they were both good.
Right, but Rosecrans got pantsed because he waited too long to start, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you wonder what would have happened if, Sheridan was the only one in the Union who realized we need to be up early and get ready because he was up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning getting his defenses ready right at the middle. Where if Rosecrans had Crittenden cross the river and attack and put that artillery up during the night and open before dawn, right at dawn, at dawn, and attack, if that would have forced Bragg, it would have been like a wheel.
Yep.
And they would have
been like dancing around each other almost.
So they were both going to hit on the right side, right?
Yeah.
If it would have forced them to move, his guys, Polk, and those guys heading more towards the north side, and how that would have changed the battle. At the end of the day, the Union won. It didn't matter. But you wonder, you look at how many, this casualty list, like how it could have changed. And it might have been, if they had that artillery up and they hit them that hard, would the battle have been just a one-day thing instead of maybe really 2.5? Who knows? Yeah. But I think it was one of those ones where it seemed like, the night of the 31st, New Year's Eve, okay, they're both these generals are thinking they've won this battle, which is
Yep.
pretty rare.
Yep.
I mean, God, New Year's Eve at the end of the day for you, your God knows where your head was swimming, But but I know where your head was swimming actually. Yeah, you didn't make it to 12.
I know.
You didn't, but it would have been. I wonder how it would have been a little. Okay, well that's fine. Fred deserved that, but I think it was a situation where they both had pretty good plans going in. They were both flawed in different ways as history showed itself out. But again, you had a guy like Sheridan and you had a guy like Claiborne, which were kind of equal to each other in that
Yeah.
middle. But I like playing the what if game, though. I do.
No, I
you know,
love it as well. This is and I don't. We've talked about this many times. I don't understand why people don't like the what if game, because it's a way for you to think a little bit more.
because
critically.
it's not history, it's
I know,
speculation.
but
at
it's a
that point.
way to think critically, to see how well you know these people, to see if you could put them in certain situations, like how you think they would do. Like, for instance, if you don't have Hood at Atlanta, but you have Hardee or Claiborne, especially like Hardee and Claiborne together, because the two of them, it's their friendship. That one is another great friendship of the Civil War there. Like, they worked so well together. If you have them at Atlanta, Sherman's fucked.
Oh, we talk about the same with Albert Sidney Johnson. Hey, Jen Price, look at your
Hey,
jumping
Jay
on
Price.
me.
Yeah, Jen Rowling says it's creative.
Yeah, but Jim, yeah, they had virtually the same battle plan, hitting the right side of the armies, but Bragg got the jump because he attacked at dawn versus Rosecrans was going to hit after breakfast, and so there was like an hour or two difference, and then Rosecrans had to react to the attack on his right instead of being aggressive on the Confederate right. So it moved all the troops down from what would have been an offensive force moving down south to defend the middle. And that's where it was, and that's why there was that big gathering, that big attacking right on the middle side once that line broke. But it was you have McCook who they were feinting all these things where the attack was going to be on the north side against the Confederate right, but McCook was on the left side. They lit all those campfires, Mary, to make it look like that's where all the soldiers were, and they had these random fires. So Smokey the Bear would have had a big problem with this whole thing, right? And so the whole point was for Bragg to think that's where the attack was going to be coming from, when it was actually the other side. But Bragg just got the jump on him and attacked there anyway early. And that's how that was. So
good morning, Leonard, and Happy New Year.
Oh, hey, Leonard, what's going on? Congratulations, your Alabama Crimson Tide. And I'll tell you something, Leonard, your boys better fucking win next week.
Yeah.
Now this is a real situation with Ohio State. You guys.
This is one time I want the South to win.
Oh, tell me about it. I don't have to get a William C. Olds t-shirt that day. Pike County, Alabama.
And Allie B said, would have been interesting if Smith was on the Vicksburg campaign. Would McPherson be leading his corps with McClernand and Sherman ranking? Would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Jonathan says, I have had professors that said real historians do not discuss what ifs, but I have always thought that discussing what ifs is like doing experiments with history. That's exactly what it is. It's you're looking at how somebody, say, I don't know, whatever, like I use Claiborne a lot at Atlanta. You're looking at their successes that they had in the war and you're applying it to another situation. And I think that's a way to get to know them better too. And plus it's just fun. I just enjoy it.
There's nothing wrong with studying history. And in the American Civil War, where things really, you have two good armies on the field. You could have gone either way, and to look how history, because it's the country that most of us live in, except for this one over here,
and Ryan.
Most of us and Ryan, but live in, so we realize how history could have changed on a dime. I've said before that the American Civil War in this country, to go back to a football term, Mary, this country's been 4th and 10 many times, and the country always seems to convert. And you look at a couple of different things, little things here and there, how things could have changed but that's what you need though. In any aspect of life, you need to get lucky sometimes. And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, exactly. LAB, except if it's about Stonewall Jackson was at Gettysburg, that shit is overrated.
Well, that's the big
one. What if Stonewall was at Gettysburg?
That's the one that God, that's a good one. You go on that. There's all kinds of stuff with that. So we'll see.
And admittedly, yes, Claiborne is my favorite Confederate general to study, but the one thing that was reiterated to me in studying Murfreesboro was the fact that Claiborne was far more talented than Stonewall Jackson. Yes, I just said that, but Claiborne had a lot of hard fighting, and he came through most of the time. Like, I think he faced a lot more hard fighting than Stonewall Jackson ever did. And he kept learning from his mistakes, and he kept going and going and going.
But you know what though? History, although it's mostly people look at it as facts and figures and dates, it's not though. It's one thing it's not science. It's not a math. You cannot study history without wondering what would have happened if things were different. Yep. Because that's what makes it great. That's why these bar conversations like we're having right now, right? What makes these things go, because you're right. I mean, but a battle like this one, is one you could absolutely do that.
Yeah, you can see how you could see how it would have gone if the Confederates break through on the Nashville Pike and they go back and they take Nashville. What troops have to be taken from Vicksburg eventually? How does that change? Is Chattanooga still taken in November of '63? Does Sherman take on Atlanta? Like, things would have been so stalled. And this battle, this was a whole, like, I remember, like, I studied this battle and remember thinking at one point, holy shit, this is like, if they had lost this is serious.
Well, I mean, what's Mike mentions, what if the Indians had killed Lincoln's father it's a good point, instead of his uncle? Well, we talked about Eisenhower's father, right? Got shot in the chest at Franklin. And he, how many people got shot in the chest in the Civil War and lived, right?
Yep. And then MacArthur, right?
I'm sorry, MacArthur.
Yeah, I was going to say,
MacArthur.
MacArthur.
It was MacArthur. It was Arthur MacArther. That's right. But again, he was a guy who went on to, was his father or his grandfather? It was his
father.
It must have been it was his father. It was father. But I mean, that's the thing though, right? It's pretty cool. I've always, like, if you don't like it, I don't care. I just like to do it. I think it's interesting to talk about these things, because it sets up the next thing. Because if the Union had done certain things, the Confederacy had done certain things, the next act in the story was going to be different. So it goes along. Now we have 20/20 hindsight, right? To look back on all these years to determine how it did play out. But at the time, it was all happening in real time. But they didn't realize those decisions they were making were going to affect the later ones that came afterwards. And that's why it's fun to do. And people like it, people don't. I know some of the people on Facebook don't like.
I love the what ifs. I hope we always do them. Leonard says, I've had plenty of what if discussions with historians like Terry Winchell, Ed Bears, Stacey Allen, Michael Ballard, and tons of others. Ryan, if the Rebs take Nashville, what's Bragg's plan for the Bang Barn problem there?
Well, that's the thing, Ryan. We don't know, right?
Well, he's got Bushrod Johnson, right?
He wasn't going to be.
So there's who would be running that.
Bushrod Johnson, God. You know,
I loved finding out he was in this battle too.
Did you notice, by the way, that on that picture I made of the Rolling Stones, I had the Bang Barn, I had the red door painted black.
You did. Yes.
See, there you go.
It's my favorite Stones song.
And no one mentioned that, so it's well. So I thought it was creative.
Allie B said the real what if should be is what if Grant was a great actor, but he didn't get to show his skills as Desdemona because all the guys thought he didn't look good dressed up as a girl.
The hell? Okay.
Grant was asked by I think it was eventually a Confederate officer, but before the Civil War, to play Desdemona in a play. I think they put a dress on him. Alibi, he'd probably find a way to burn the Bang Barn down. And it was Arthur MacArthur.
Yeah, it was definitely Arthur MacArthur.
Andrea says you need to Photoshop Grant in a dress.
What kind of sick shit are you into, Andrea? I thought she liked Grant.
She does.
She wants Grant. I know. But
Ryan Claiborne, let's arm the Scarlet Ladies and send a North. Hardy, no.
But like I said, it's not disrespecting history, because it's just generating more conversation. And if you can speak to what ifs, what did happen. That's what makes it cool, right?
Yeah. Longstreet said Grant looked girlish when he was younger.
You saw a picture of Grant when he was young. In West Point,
yeah, he does. He's got a bit of a baby, feminine face. Nothing wrong with that.
He could have. I'm saying, I don't know.
Some of them look really odd without the facial hair. Like
what was the one I did for you? Like Howard, the picture of Howard.
Weird. That was weird.
That one of you guys requested that one. I
did. I requested that one.
Yeah, well, they say bra. What do they say? The beard's the male version of the push-up bra. In that case, of Howard, it's true, right?
Well, they all look. Some of them, like you see them with it, like Jeb Stewart without the beard. If anybody's never seen Jeb Stuart without a beard, Google it right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, he doesn't look bad though. I don't think he looks
No, he
bad.
doesn't.
He
He
looks
just has a
different.
baby face. And
Yeah.
same with like Claiborne's got a baby face too.
Well, these guys were all young though.
Oh, I know they were. Yeah.
You know. You know.
Jim says, no, history is not just names, dates, and places. I think one of the reasons the Civil War grabs people's attention is because it's the only war which we have easy access to primary documents from both sides. You can see the wear from the eyes of the people who lived through it. I find the microhistory of the war absolutely fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
5'1" Grant, best friends with 6'2" Longstreet, would have been a sight to see at West Point.
Oh, definitely. Oh,
Holy shit, Grant was shorter than me when he started at West Point?
Yeah, a little.
That's saying something. Wow.
Hey, Darren, nice shirt. Yeah, there you go. It's Rotsville. Got to represent Team Mary.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. No, I'm kidding. I know you mean Sir Watts.
Ego on you, you know. Oh well. But you know, as we move forward into the next one, we talk next week as we start to get to the beginning of the Vicksburg thing. We talk about Chickasaw. It's you know, that'll be an interesting one we talk about too as we get started with that, because that's going to be some more cases, and you know, it's going to make the Union look. It's not going to make old Uncle Blingy look good, unfortunately.
No.
So if you like Sherman, next one's not going to be your favorite. I'll tell you that right now.
I mean,
looking at you, Jen.
I mean, I love Sherman, but yeah, he does not do well at Chickasaw. Again, he has issues reading maps there. Hallie B knows Grant's way.
There was a book I had that actually had these guys' heights in them.
Yeah, because I want to know what Howard's height was, because he's described in a book I read as being short. I want to know what that means.
I'll have to find that book, but it's like I don't know why, but like the end of it had a bunch of all the generals also with their heights. Like, Chamberlain was 5'10". It showed Grant was short. It showed Sheridan was short.
Sherman was 5'10".
You know, see, Sherman is a guy, he looks shorter than he really is.
He does, but he was 5'10". He was taller than Grant.
You know, well, Grant was, you know, it's not saying much. I mean, but
Grant was 5'7".
Yeah, but I mean, I guess theoretically, 5'7" is pretty short nowadays.
Claiborne was about 5'10". He was he was described as being tall, but tall back then was 5'10", right? Like Lincoln was a giant at 6'4". And
he must. That was like back then. That was like having like, you know, 7-foot guy, one of these creepy tall guys, you know.
Yeah, Leonard, maybe that explains his exceptional horsemanship. He was jockey sized. Jen, Jay Price has to head off. See you, Jay.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you soon, Jay Price. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have you jump on. So,
Ryan, I saw a study that suggested Grant had the lowest IQ of any president. Interesting.
Who knows? Maybe that sounds about right.
I know his presidency has gotten a reevaluation lately, that it's not as bad as what they say, and I do think in some ways that's true. It was very corrupt though, but that's because of Grant's personality though. Him giving all those favors to people.
Grant lowest IQ of any president. I think must have stopped a couple of years ago. But anyway, I'll leave that alone.
Yep.
Anyway,
so we'll just leave that one there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that book was obviously written in 2016.
Yep.
But no. I mean, Grant. You know, they said like the Ken Burns thing. He failed at everything except marriage and war, right? Mm-hmm. And he tried stuff, and I don't know. I mean, IQ is not the way to judge someone's intelligence anyway. I mean, that's almost like how well you can test, right? Mm-hmm. Plus, I don't think they even had IQ tests back then, did they? I mean, they must have.
I don't think they did. Yeah.
They just, you know.
I don't think they did. I mean, I think, you know, they're like, I see Grant as being quite intelligent. I see all of them as being quite intelligent in their own way, you know. Like, you have to be to get as far as you did. But yeah, there are some of them, like, you look at somebody like Grant, who outside of the Army, he can't make it. And same with Sherman. Like, they can't. They try. But then somebody like Meade, which we mentioned in the blog post we did about him the other day, he has a lot of success outside of the Army. You know, he's a civil engineer. And then he decides to go back in the Army because, you know, he's got a growing family and he needs the pay. And it was much better. And then he is in the, you know, he's surveying the Great Lakes and all that. So Meade was one of these ones that was able to have success outside of the Army, but Grant and Sherman couldn't do it. Like, how many careers did Sherman try? And he wasn't successful at any of them. And he realized his place was in the Army.
Yeah, that happened a lot. I mean, Sherman, all these dudes. I mean, we did, you know, talk about the whole metallurgy thing in San Francisco in 1849. Uncle Blingy, the creation of Uncle Blingy.
Yep.
But I mean, they all did. They all, tried terms as bankers. Obviously, Sherman was the first president of Louisiana State University. Well, what become LSU anyway.
Which he was totally blind to what was happening. He doesn't question, okay, there's rumblings of a civil war and there's a military university being built in the South. I'm just going to ignore that and teach there.
I think he probably just took the job to take a job. I mean,
well, yeah, he loved the South. He wanted to move his family there. And that's where he finally thought, I have it made. And then secession happens. And he's like, fuck this.
Yeah, I mean that was tough for a lot of these guys. Though. I mean, you mentioned before, we talked before about George Thomas, right?
Yeah.
That he was an outcast in his own family, being a Virginian who studied the state. He decided to keep his oath that he made, which certainly didn't. Another Virginian who quit after the war started.
Exactly.
So sorry about you lead people. I don't like that too much, but I think that's the way it was. But yeah, but I'll go back to the IQ thing. I was reading some of these comments here. I mean. There's a difference between book smarts and street smarts.
Yeah. To
be a good general, you have to be street smart. You have to be able to read the situation. So you could be a low IQ and be a really good general if you can understand, because you can read it. Maybe that's why he wasn't. I know his presidency has been kind of marred, but I wonder if that's maybe why his presidency wasn't that good. But again, I think a lot of the negative is kind of overrated for Grant. I don't think he's as bad as people originally think.
No, he's not. He's not. I mean, as much as we've. I don't think we've really criticized him in this episode or in this Facebook Live, but what we want people to take away with is that he did have an agenda. And because of that agenda, there's people like Hooker and Rosecrans especially with this battle, that are being left behind and not remember for the successes that they had that do contribute to the Union winning the Civil War.
Leonard, I was actually down at the Citadel a couple of years ago, walking around with my Gettysburg T-shirt. They love that. But Jefferson College, obviously VMI, there's a bunch of this, the University of the South in Swanee that we talked about.
Yeah,
Polk. Yeah, that Leonardo Polk had taken care of that. So got started with that. So, but a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of good stuff that goes into that. But,
and Ryan said Pemberton and Blue helped secure Baltimore for the Union before resigning, basically because of his own Southern she who must be obeyed. Oh, we will be talking about Pemberton, I think, next episode a little bit.
Well, don't forget, there's two John C. Pembertons,
I know, the one who invented Coke and the one who
there's the Coke guy and there's the Vicksburg guy.
Coke guy.
There's the Coke guy and there's the Vicksburg guy.
I remember driving through Atlanta with my dad on the way down to Florida when I was like 9. And my dad was like, I don't know, he's like, I don't know, I was talking a little bit about Atlanta and the Civil War, and he was like, did you know a Civil War general invented Coke? And I said, bullshit.
But hey, David, thanks for jumping on. Thanks. We'll see you next time. Appreciate you.
Thanks, David.
Here. But again, a lot of these guys go on to bigger, better things afterwards. The Civil War. We have to do one of these episodes on just kind of like one of those like after the fact Civil War, what these guys turn into.
I think it would definitely be fun to do that one, but it would be also fun to pick some of the ones that died and talk about what they could have been. And I'm talking about on both sides, not just Union, but Confederate as well. Talk about what they could have been. And we've touched on that in some of the episodes we've done.
Yeah, no, we certainly could have. Some of these guys had a lot of different things. Yeah, that's right. It's John S. Pemberton. There's two John, one's C, one's S. That's right.
But yeah, I think looking at somebody like Garfield, McKinley.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no question. I mean, it's those guys, but a lot of people don't even realize that Garfield or McKinley were even in the Civil War. I mean, they got that big monument to McKinley at Antietam right by the bridge.
For bringing coffee.
I
shouldn't downplay his role.
Hey, it was good coffee, though.
But Garfield is a really smart guy. Really great president, too. He didn't like Lincoln at first, but then he grew to actually really admire him, as a lot of the Civil War generals did. Like Sherman did not vote in the 1860 election, which he admits to in his memoirs. But he said if he did, he would not have voted for Lincoln. What does that say about Sherman?
Yeah, well, I mean,
there's a lot of these guys that didn't like Lincoln going into it.
You know what, though? I think that was more because Sherman's attitudes towards blacks at the time, which he talked about freely.
Well, he had those attitudes right through to the end of the Civil War. Right,
but when it came to before the war started, he's going to vote for a guy who was perceived anyway, that a guy who could end slavery versus a guy who wasn't going to. Yeah. Of course, he wasn't going to vote for Lincoln. But politically, they were totally different. He
wanted the country to stay together.
Yeah.
But Sherman's reaction to secession, which I'm sure we will talk about on the episode we're going to do about the secession winter, you know, he goes off on his friend Boyd saying like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You fuckers are going down, and it's going to be a long
Yeah.
drawn out affair.
Mm-hmm. It did an original Coke have cocaine in it.
Yep,
I think it did. I think
it
I don't know
did,
if it was
John.
I don't know if it was pure cocaine. I think it was the whatever makes cocaine, the coca leaf. Fuck,
Yeah,
you
the
probably
coca
know.
leaf. Yep.
But whatever it is. But I know I don't drink Coke anymore. Actually, I stopped soda a long time ago.
Yeah, I did too.
But
Actually,
I definitely heard that too. So that's probably the case.
yeah.
I know they
And
use you know.
Andrea said Sherman was a great general, horrible human being, violent, racist, misogynist, hated Catholics. His his sister wife was Catholic and so much more. Yeah, and his sister wife Ellen wanted him to convert to Catholicism, and he was like, "Fuck that." One of his sons, Thomas, I believe, became a priest, and Sherman was not very happy about that. But he was very against Catholics. Considering he married one is actually surprising. Um, Ryan said Theodore Roosevelt's dad gets kept out of the war by his Southern wife. One brother heavily involved in raiders and blockade runners, and the other, Bullock, I think, was with the Army of Northern Virginia. Teddy was very unhappy about that. Wasn't it Teddy Roosevelt that witnessed Lincoln's funeral from New York City?
Yeah, from the window. He's one of those little kids in the window. Yeah.
Yep.
You he was, obviously in the movie Night of the Museum. Mary? Too?
Yes, I've never seen that movie before.
Really? That's a good movie.
Yeah,
the second one, that second wasn't that good. The first one was really, really good.
No, I've never seen it.
That's pretty solid. But
yeah, Andrew, I do agree with you. Thomas did I think it was Thomas became a priest to piss his dad off, because Willie was like the light and life of Sherman's. Like, his favorite son was obviously Willie, was the one who died after the Vicksburg.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing we talked about this before, is how these personal issues affected. Like, you got guys like, Longstreet lose all those kids during the war.
Yep.
You obviously the Sherman thing, and Lincoln too, but he wasn't in the field. But how you're getting letters that these people are dying. You think of the soldiers; they're getting stories. Their wives are getting sick and dying, and their kids are getting sick and dying. It was a different era now. We're going through this whole pandemic, which is brutal. But back then, the whole thing was very, very hard for all that stuff. But yeah, that's the way it was, and so these guys are no different. You wonder how many decisions were made based on emotion and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that was brought up in a previous episode. I think Ryan brought up one guy tearing into another guy, and he wondered if it was because he just found out he'd lost his son. But then you have someone like Hardee, whose son is killed in a battle near the end of the war, and Hardee is there to see him carried off on a stretcher. And you just kind of had to snap out of it, kind of like Rosecrans when his aide de camp got decapitated, and Rosecrans just had to keep going, and he's got like his blood and brains all over him, and he's just like, oh, we got to keep going. Like, who knows how when Rosecrans came off the adrenaline of the battle, how that made him feel, because would be when you stop is when it really starts to affect you, right?
Well, you had Sheridan lose his buddy Josh Sill, right?
Yeah.
At this battle that Stone's River. So I mean, these are people. I mean, think of your closest friends at work or family dying in front of you.
Yep.
And how does the mind, how does the mind absorb that, right? How does it affect that? Those are the things that people don't really even think about, right? And honestly, that's where Carol Reardon's really good, Mary.
Yeah.
We talked about her. She tells these stories about these people dying and how it affect them emotionally, psychologically, and she's awesome. Some of the stories she'll make you she'll bring you down. She's not the most positive person.
Well, some of those are the stories but how many people lost friends?
Right.
You think of Hardee, who's down in Savannah at the time Franklin is fought, and he gets word that Claiborne, one of his best friends, is dead. You got to wonder if that was when Hardee started to be like, we're done. And if that factored in to how he felt about just leaving Savannah, like, this is it for me. They've taken all these great men, all these men that he saw, like, that were his friends, especially Claiborne, died at Franklin so unnecessarily. And then it's not long after that he evacuates Savannah. You got to wonder if that was factoring into it too, that he just thought enough is enough. We can't keep going.
And Andrea mentions Hancock lost all of his kids,
Yeah.
They're regular people. Think of how it is now, and but that's why we say before, it's fun reading the when you read the diaries and you talk about these guys, because most of these diaries were not intended to be published. They were
No.
people writing to themselves, and that's
Yeah.
why when you read these, you get a really good. I don't mean the memoirs, for God's sakes. I mean, just the
No, the
actual
letters.
the letters,
Yeah.
the letters or the memoirs themselves, the diaries. Charles Wainwright, the artillery guy. Who was at Gettysburg, and he's got a really good memoirs because he was taking shots at all of his people. I mean, but he didn't intend it to be published. It was just one of those things for himself, and it got published later on. But Charles Wainwright, his diary, I don't think I've mentioned him before, but if you want a really good read about the Union, read Charles Wainwright's memoirs for himself, because it was not he'd take shots at Meade, all of them, just because of his own personal issues. But it's an interesting read, though, just because it wasn't when he's writing for publication. His family, after he died, found it and published and made money on it. But that's another good one, the Wainwright one.
Yeah, there's some good comments here. Ryan said it was Kearney ripping into McClellan after little Archie died. Allie B said it's like at Shiloh when Grant tried to go back to his cabin headquarters and he couldn't stand it because it was being used as a hospital, and he just went and chilled out under a tree for the rest of the night. Yeah, and that's when Sherman comes over to him to basically say, we need to just retreat. And he decides as he's walking over to Grant and he sees him that he's gonna, shut the fuck up and see what Grant has to say. Andrea said Armstead and Hancock always kill me. That scene in Gettysburg where Armstead is dying, especially because the actor was actually dying of a brain tumor. Yeah, that's right. Richard Jordan was dying of a brain tumor during the filming of that movie, and he didn't tell, nobody knew about it.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Ryan said, and Hardy wasn't Hardy just married to a much younger wife? Sudden motivation not to die in battle. That's true. Did Albert Sidney Johnson marry a second time to a younger woman? I believe he did, Andrew. Yes, because he lost his wife and first child, right?
He married a woman named Eliza Griffin.
Yep.
Eliza Griffin, he married her. And what's interesting about Eliza Griffin, Andrea, is they talk in that scene, they talk about in the Gettysburg movie, where they're all in California, in Los Angeles, Armistead, Hancock, all those guys, they're playing the piano, singing those songs before they go back to fight. Albert Sidney Johnson's wife, Eliza Griffin, was actually playing the piano when they were singing those songs, Kathleen Mouverine and all those songs. Then they went off to fight, and it's referenced in the Gettysburg movie. But it's either Griffin or Griffin. I'm pretty sure it's Griffin. But it was definitely his second wife. There's no question about that.
Yep. He is one of the biggest what ifs of the Civil War.
Probably the biggest one for the South, in my opinion.
Yeah, because he was, holy shit, he was talented. And I know people fault him for getting killed at Shiloh because he was out in front. But he knew what was happening. He had to be out there to see what was happening, right? And Beauregard stays in the back and doesn't really have a clue what's happening. And he clearly was not ready to take over after that. But Johnston dies because of a former wound that he got in a duel. Because
Andrew has a good story about his death site too.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's told it on here before.
Let me tell the story again, but he was, again, big loss. He's somebody who potentially, and we say potentially because no one knows, we don't do the whole superlative thing, right? He potentially could have been someone in the West who could have been someone formidable who could have fought Grant Sherman, right? Because you look at the people like the Braggs of the world, the Hoods of the world, if Johnson had lived. But again, no, history doesn't know. He might have been a disaster too. But on paper, he was somebody who probably could have been pretty good.
Yeah, but that's where you have to look at his performance at Shiloh, which was pretty good, other than going out and getting shot, which you didn't realize he'd been shot until he'd pretty much bled out because he didn't feel it.
Well, the story is he didn't have his tourniquet because he gave it to a soldier to attend to a Union soldier.
Yeah. Yeah. There's there's that story, but then there's the story that they found the tourniquet in his pocket.
Well, so realistically, that's probably what it was then.
Allie B says, it reminds me too of the Wilderness with Alexander Hayes dying, and Porter came back to tell Grant, and he sits there shocked for a bit, and then years later Grant goes to his grave and stayed there and cried for a long time. Yeah, probably hearing of the death is, you don't know what to do at the time.
No, I mean, at the time it's all probably game stuff going on and bullets flying literally and figuratively. But I think after the fact, when these things ended and you had time to reflect on it, the lives lost. I mean, most of these guys are all friends at West Point, and they think of like you're in school, think you're in high school or college, you're with a bunch of people, and you're going to fight these people, or fight with these people, or against these people, and you go back and half of them are gone. And you think
Yep.
back to the memories, and that when your mind kind of slows down and settles in and gets out of that battle mode,
Yeah.
um, it really you can really see how that would take. Because I think honestly, these dudes we mentioned before about Rosecrans having a nervous breakdown, and we don't know, but it would
I
make
think that
total
was probably
sense.
the case. That was the case at Chickamauga, because the Rosecrans at Chickamauga was not the Rosecrans of Stones River, and probably not the Rosecrans we're going to see in Tullahoma. It was a
No,
completely different, going off, no sleep. He's seen a lot of shit, and I think when he sees the breakthrough happen, it's that's it right there.
I think it either makes you hardened, like maybe like a Hancock,
Yeah.
or it makes you lose your mind,
Yeah.
like a Rosecrans, right?
Yeah, and I think there was ones that were just they brushed it off. Like Howard, his attitude towards battle was, he said he was scared once at first Bull Run, and then after that he put his faith in God, and he realized he couldn't be scared, and he never was. He just went in and did his thing. And I think Slocum was much the same way. Sherman obviously was not as affected by it, and same with
Armistead
Grant.
had this. Armistead had the same religious attitude. He basically
Yep.
says, he has a book that Wayne Motts wrote, like put my faith in God. I forget what that quote was as the title
Mm-hmm.
of Wayne's book, but he was the same way. He's like, well, if I'm going to get killed, it's the way it's supposed to be. So why be afraid of it?
Yep.
It happened when it happened. So,
Yep.
and that's probably a healthy attitude to have in war. Probably not overall, just because it's,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
but
but
you think about someone like Sherman, who first day of Shiloh, he's in a very similar situation to Rosecrans, where his aide de camp gets his head shot off right next to him, and he just kind of, that's when he realizes we're attacked,
yeah.
and that's when the battle starts, and he was not expecting that at all. So he witnesses the same thing, but he obviously processes it much differently. He doesn't reach the breaking point like Rosecrans does, and you can't really fault Rosecrans
You're
for that.
talking Meade now. You're talking.
No, Sherman at Shiloh.
Oh, okay. Because same thing happened to me at Gettysburg.
That's right.
He had his
Yeah.
servants when they had that chicken dinner on the before Pickett's charge.
Yeah.
The servant took his head right off too, at the beginning of the artillery barrage on July 3rd.
Meade
So
was almost killed at Fredericksburg. When he got back and he took his hat off, there was a
yeah,
bullet hole through it,
yeah.
and he was like, "Fuck."
He almost got captured at Gettysburg when the horse took off towards Seminary
Yeah,
Ridge
because the Sickles is like, he trying to
Sickles.
take them to Richmond.
You know. So
Fucking old Baldy takes off.
and again, it all goes back to the historical, the what if thing, and how the whole thing plays itself out.
Yeah.
But but it's enjoyable to study these specific battles, because for me, I'm an inquisitive type anyway. I'll read these
Me
and
too.
I'll read between the lines, and it does tell the story better when you really get into the people and you talk about what might have been going on in their heads, because it helps
Mhm.
fill in the gaps a little bit with some of the decisions they made.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. When you remember that not all these men are the same, and that they're affected by things differently. And Rosecrans is definitely an example of that. And I'm sure there was ones on the Confederate side too that just, they froze. They had a breakdown in battle because all of a sudden it's just too much for you.
well, we saw what happened with Hooker at Chancellorsville, right? He even
Yeah.
admitted he lost faith himself.
Yeah, but that's also because, I'm sorry, but if I have a piece of something or other hit my hood and or my head, and I get knocked out and have a concussion, I'm probably not going to be able to issue commands.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variables when you study these that we don't even think about, because you know why? Because no one talks about them. Because
No.
again, it goes into the whole what if thing. Unless it's factually proven that he had a concussion, and it's irresponsible academically to talk about it, which they're probably right to a point. But I mean, again, it does tell and explain a lot about some of these decisions. And look, we're not, Mary, we're just a couple people talking about the Civil War, so we don't have to really
Exactly.
know, right?
And
But again,
Andrew's got a question: was Stonewall a victim of friendly fire, or was Albert Sidney Johnson a victim of friendly fire?
that's the room. No one knows.
Yeah,
I mean,
no one
that's the
knows.
thing. Is where he would have been. It could have been either one. So it's
Yeah,
very
he was out
possible.
close to the front lines. It was very, very chaotic. It was about, I think, around 3:30 in the afternoon on the first day of Shiloh.
Mhm.
And he just it was just behind his knee that he took the bullet, and he didn't feel it go in.
Yeah, I mean, not far from theoretically where old Dan Sickles got hit. A little bit lower, but still, it hit him in the whatever the artery that is. I'm not.
Well, what had happened is he had been hit in the same spot during a duel, and something had happened with the nerve in his leg, and he had no feeling there. So in normal circumstances, he would have felt it and probably been able to get help sooner. But because he didn't have any feeling in that part of his leg, he bled out. He didn't realize it.
Well, there's that muscle in your leg called a fas. I don't know if you've heard about this, Mare, in your leg.
Jesus. Damn it.
So I gotta tell the story. I just have to.
Dr. Weeks.
So this one here is complaining that her leg hurts one day, and her the muscle in her upper leg was hurting her. So I told her that the official phrase was the fas, which is the thigh and the ass. And she believed it. And I photoshopped a picture of an anatomy thing with the word fast, and she actually
I
thought
sent
fast.
you a picture of it, and I said, this is bullshit. And then you sent it. And then I looked at what I thought was the same picture, and I thought, oh, okay, it is a thing.
But you thought the fast was the official, like, anatomical name for the thigh ass muscle.
I don't know. Doctors sometimes do shit like that.
I think common sense would. I don't know. Whatever. It was funny. It was good for.
I'm gonna remember that.
I definitely got a kick out of that. It was fucking hilarious.
L.A.B. Omer. I'm gonna get you karma.
You're right. She goes. So she sent me this picture of like a muscle, one of those scientific ones, and I Photoshop fast, but I use it in different fonts and everything. Like,
and I was
muscle.
doing a million things at the time because it was
and she goes, oh, you're right. Wow, it is called a fast. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. She fell for that. And it was one of those things. So yeah, Omer, exactly.
I'm not the one that wrote milk myself one time. So
oh, Jesus Christ.
Remember that?
Yeah.
When you were like, you told me a joke and then I was like, haha, that's funny. And then you're like, sometimes I milk myself.
Instead of kill. Anyways. So anyway, Stones River.
Ryan says I can be a Civil War surgeon.
So you've been heading to a fast, so. Oh, that goddamn funny.
Oh my god.
But no, I wouldn't be surprised if he was hit by friendly fire though, because he was right in that spot.
Yeah, he was right, and it was very, very chaotic. Leonard said the march to Shiloh from Corinth was not well managed. Not sure if that's on Johnston or Beauregard. And Andrew said definitely Beauregard.
Well, you know what, Beauregard, you know what though? He gets a lot of shit for for his retreat. And you know what? He did the hardest thing to do militarily, which is retreat in the face of the enemy, right? He did the whole fake logs for the cannons. They snuck out of Corinth. They were having the trains shooting their sounds, made it sound like more soldiers were coming in so he could get the hell out. He gets bashed for that, especially by the Confederacy and Davis. But he may have saved his army that day to do that, though. You know?
Yeah, he did. And then, too, the other thing with Beauregard is, second day at Shiloh, and he's like, okay, we need to attack. And then I think one of his staff was like, aren't we like a lump of sugar that's just like saturated with water and we could melt at any moment? And Beauregard's like, he recognized the good analogy and was like, yep, let's go.
I mean, he was someone, obviously, Beauregard is a smart guy, Pierre Gustave Toutant Beauregard. And he ended up, later in the war, ended up doing some stuff, administratively for Davis, but he was really never a field commander after Corinth, really. Which is kind of too bad for them, because I think he was somebody who could have, who had a good head and his shoulders,
Ryan Mayer, I think we need to amputate your fast. What do you mean you have too fast? Oh shit.
Ryan, you could not believe how funny that was. And you know what? You didn't think I was going to bring that up, did you? I wasn't planning on bringing it up. Well, that was a while ago, though. That was a couple months ago.
Oh my god!
And when the reality clicked that she really thought that's what it was, that was pretty funny.
Fuck. Yeah, we'll milk myself.
I'm gonna have to tweet that DAS picture. I think I'll have to do that. I still have that on my phone, by the way.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Jesus. Oh god, is that funny?
I'm a Civil War nerd, not a surgeon.
Are you Dr. McCoy now?
Yeah, I am. I love Dr. McCoy.
Damn it, Darren.
Damn it, Darren. I'm a Civil War nerd, not a goddamn surgeon.
Surgeon.
I'm a fucking surgeon. I'm a fucking anatomist. No. Milk myself.
Anatomist? Is that what? Okay, I'll go with that. Sure. I don't know. I think a lot of that stuff is true though, as far as the friendly fire stuff though. It just popped in my head as we
like Jackson.
That. Well, obviously Jackson, but I wonder how
because going out riding at dusk. Is it
no, that wasn't too
That's
smart.
That's such a good idea.
But that happened a lot. We talked about Wauhatchie. There was a lot of friendly fire at Wauhatchie. It did.
Yeah,
on.
there
So,
was. And too, at the early battles of the Civil War, remember, because they didn't all have the same color uniforms.
well, first Bull Run,
Yep.
people don't realize a lot of the Confederates had the blue uniforms on. They used to tie
Yep.
a white handkerchief on their shoulder like kids soccer. What team you're on when they all
Yep.
too cheap to have different shirts. That's you know that's stuff people don't realize. It's how hard it was at the beginning, and
Exactly.
you know.
Andrew or Jen replied to Andrea about Sherman that it, this is about Sherman's son. His mom was heavily influencing the children to serve the church while Sherman was away at business or military duty. He actually had very little say when it came to the children. She pissed all her inheritance away by giving it to the Catholic Church. William was the only kid he could seem able to relate to and influence. That's true. Yeah, Sherman's marriage is not, it's the opposite to Julia and Grant's marriage. It's very, they were not well matched.
I'd imagine that'd be a tough one to go through,
Yeah. Allie B said, if you want to read about Corinth, the siege retreat battle, check out Tim B. Smith's book. A great book about something that kind of gets glossed over. Jim said, Halleck's march from Shiloh to Corinth was worrisome and not for the same reason as the march of Albert Sidney Johnston's march from Corinth to Shiloh. He was worried about making a mistake that he took such extreme measures and dug in every day so as not to be taken by surprise, that it gave Beauregard time to prepare.
Mm-hmm. Love the action of Grant mini. Who was the guy who played the Grant miniseries again?
I don't know. I was watching that the other night though. It was really good the second time around. Like really good.
Now I have to watch that again.
Well, we could just watch that.
There you go. Doc McCoy. Yeah. But that was good though. I mean, it's so funny. Is I think in my own mind here, my memories is I think more lately, specifically about the John Brown miniseries. When I think of his miniseries,
really good,
which was absolutely stunningly good, and Grant was up there with it. But we'll see if anybody likes that too. But I thought that was. I mean, I have friends who weren't even Civil War people text me saying, "I don't know who this John Brown guy is, but he's awesome. I need to learn more."
Yeah, it's a great gateway show. Like, and it says at the beginning, some of this is true, right? So they're saying like a lot of it, there's some embellished history with John Brown, but still it tells the story and you see like his importance as a historical figure,
I mean, you know what though? Like I said before, I'll watch anything about, especially about the Civil War stuff.
Oh, me too.
But his story is one that is a really good one to tell. And Ethan Hawke did such a good job.
Oh, he did. He was amazing. The whole show was just really good. I wish it could have continued, but John Brown getting hung.
That's like there's gonna be no sequel to Titanic either, Mary. Same concept,
Well, you can watch it backwards and pretend that it's a ship that saves people.
Exactly. The ship goes like this.
It saves people.
Exactly. Oh God.
But Jim said Ellen insisted that Sherman be buried in a Catholic cemetery.
Yeah. You visit his grave. He's in Ohio, right?
Sherman? No, he's in Missouri. He's in St. Louis.
That's right. I'm thinking about.
He fucking hated Ohio.
I'm thinking of what's his name, man. I'm thinking of Hooker.
Yeah. Sherman hated Ohio. He couldn't get away. His worst nightmare was having to live in Ohio, and that's what his father-in-law wanted him to do. His father-in-law had a whole bunch of like salt wells, because there's like a lot of salt mining that happens in Ohio, especially near the Great Lake Erie.
There's something else here I have in common then. Fuck Ohio.
Yeah, fuck Ohio as well.
But yeah, John, the other show on network. So I assume you talked about the one on Brown. You got to watch that. I'm sure it's on YouTube by now. I'm sure you can find. Someone's probably pirated it somewhere. Yeah, but it is so good. It was like seven or 8
episodes. Yeah, I know it was really good. Paul, John Brown 2, The Revenge.
The Ghost of John Brown.
Isn't that what the Civil War kind of is?
Well, there was some talk on one of those Civil War Facebook pages yesterday, Mary, that were talking about John Brown. Like, what were you thinking of? When you think of John Brown, what do you think of? Like 3 words or less. And most of it, I mean, some people I wrote martyr and, visionary and people like that. Other people would write terror. It was an interesting read. It was like a good psychological experiment in people's minds, and also who really studied John Brown.
I think he was a martyr.
One guy wrote
awareness.
One guy wrote NFL wide receiver, which I got a kick out of because John Brown in the NFL. So that guy wins. But
But you look at Lincoln's attitude towards John Brown as well, where he was like, yeah, he does. He he deserved to hang kind of thing.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
he was also somebody who theoretically was trying to overturn the apple cart with the government, right?
Yep, he was.
I mean, so what he was fighting for again, I can see why any government official would have that attitude specifically, regardless of what it was, whatever it was, yeah, good Lord Burb.
We keep calling it Burb.
Well, we'll definitely be on DVD at some point. It'll be. I can't believe it. It's got to be on some streaming thing by now. It's got to be on YouTube.
I watched it on streaming. I watched it on Crave, which is our Canadian version for like HBO and Showmax. Showcase. I almost said, geez, I didn't. At least didn't say RedTube. Like you, we're gonna sell stuff on RedTube. Speaking of blunders,
you know what's so funny is I hope
RedTube.
I hope somebody mistakenly Googled that just because
RedTube.
RedTube. I hope it was on their work computer too.
We're going to be selling stuff on RedTube.
Let that one go, Jesus God. but no, so let's talk about the website real quick for a second. So we talked about that.
Yep.
And I'm kind of going off the rails here a little bit, but Mary did a great job with the website. My sister actually developed it, which is pretty cool.
She did an awesome job. She made it easy for me. Like that's the thing. It's easy. I mean, I love website design, but it's very easy to work with, which is good for a person like me.
So it's civilwarbreakfastclub.com. So check it out. And Mary put a story up recently, which is really, really good. On General Me, which is on his birthday the other day. And there's all kinds of stuff on there. So RedTube, never heard of it either, John. Me either.
Same here. I never heard of it.
RedTube, Jesus Christ. But our website's really, really good. We're going to have an email address coming off of that as soon as we can figure it out. There's something not right with it.
And like I said, Jim, the U.S. Grant vibrator.
Unconditional surrender.
Oh my God. So we are opening a shop on there.
God.
That would be Jim. Anyway, so yeah, like we said earlier on the website, hopefully today we're going to be launching our forum for you guys to come and like hang out and discuss stuff on there. And like I say, there's only like one rule: don't put other people down for their opinions. Yeah. Just debate and have friendly discussion.
So the US Grant vibrator. So it starts at 5.1 and then goes to 5.7 really quick. Is that how it does? I think that's exactly.
It leaves the Southern women shaking in their boots.
Imagine a Sherman vibrator, Mary.
God, no. Ryan, RedTube when Johnny's come marching home.
Oh my God.
John says, I can't spare this one, it works. The U.S. Grant vibrator. So that's where we've gone today.
The Sherman one, if erected, I will not serve. Some fun with this.
There's a Howard joke in here somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
It retreats early.
God, this is whatever. This is what we don't ask to be on the real websites, the real podcast. Yeah. But
guarantee you, people, this does not happen. Another Civil War podcast.
God.
Oh, we do have a great group of people.
Oh, it is. It's all fun. It's all, we're getting towards the end anyway. We just have some fun with this at the end. But
the Sherman vibrator had to be recalled. It kept catching fire.
Yeah, it keeps leaving me. Dog keeps leaving me with a burning sensation.
Pickett's runs out early.
Oh my gosh. General Lee, I have no
batteries.
I have no batteries. Same fucking thing. Jesus Christ. Wow. Okay. Well, this
is only the best and highest quality content here.
I have some fun with it too. Almost all of us are adults, Mary. So
the Pettigrew has 7 different speeds. Like he's spoken 7 different languages.
Oh, jeez, no. Okay. There's an Alonzo Cushing joke in here somewhere. I'm just going to leave that alone. So
holy fuck.
Well, I don't think I'll be talking about that today. But
neither did I.
God. But that's too freaking funny.
But yeah, next for us, we are back in the Western Theater with Chickasaw and Holly Springs. I think we're going to talk about the beginning of the Vicksburg campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard.
See, this is how memes get created right here, Mary.
McClellan never quite gets you there.
Just takes forever to get started.
Yeah.
And it takes,
The oh makes you call out for Jesus.
God.
You have to keep recharging the Pickett one. Generally, I have no charge. Oh my God. Anyway, we are talking Vicksburg next episode.
Talking. And so speaking of running the gauntlet, Mary, so we'll be talking about the Battle of Vicksburg next week. We'll be talking about the Pickett's charging.
It's charging. Jen, no, it's Jesus.
Jeez.
The hooker leaves you dazed and confused. Who knows what the AP Hill one would do?
Oh my God! Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Shape of a bayonet.
Ella Spear says the Chamberlain vibrator one's probably overrated anyway. So
the Tilden is the unknown good one.
It keeps getting captured though.
Yeah. The Hill one gives you STDs. Hey, John.
Comes in right now. Oh, geez, sorry about that. Everybody jumping on. Sorry you jumped onto this moment.
We are trying to bring it back to whatever. It doesn't matter.
Well, Yule will take that hill of practicable. So
Bushrod for that natural look. Slocum for something slow.
This is Savannah Joe coming here somewhere. It's a matter of time. For that two-pronged attack.
The back door.
Oh, God. So about about Vicksburg. Holy moly. Just let it happen.
Where else can you guys come to talk about the Civil War and then vibrators? Civil War Breakfast Club.
Gosh, yep. Exactly. Good. Yeah, Jim, thanks for starting this whole thing.
That was good.
Yeah. But
Van Dorn will give you a pass.
I'll tell you about it. Van Dorn, he probably had a whole army full of them,
Oh, God. But yes, next episode we'll be back in the Western Theater for our start about Vicksburg, which Vicksburg might end up being a threesome.
Yeah, use it to attack the angle.
Yep.
Wow.
Magruder, it's bigger than it actually is.
You just keep walking around over and over and over again with it. It looks like you got a whole bunch of them. So Yorktown.
Jeb Stewart, it's late. Bragswood, well, do we really want to know?
Nice. Well, speaking of fucking yourself,
So how many episodes do you think Vicksburg will be?
I don't know. Vicksburg will be, honestly, I think that we could probably do at least 3 on Vicksburg if we really wanted to.
I think we should do 3 on Vicksburg because we can cover Holly Springs and Chickasaw, and then we can cover from, after Chickasaw to when they run down the Mississippi, and then the last one could be kind of wrapping everything up and also talking about the implications of the Vicksburg campaign. Just like Jeb couldn't find Gettysburg apparently for a while.
Exactly. Have you seen General Stuart? I cannot bear to know where General Stuart is. I cannot find him.
It's because he turned his phone to airplane mode. He blocked all text from Lee.
I would have totally. But Vicksburg will be fun. We can talk about the Navy, obviously. We'll talk about Porter and Foote and Farragut and all those guys. Yeah. I'm going to talk about Sherman. Sherman has his Chickasaw is probably his biggest mistake. Maybe Kennesaw, maybe too, but Chickasaw is probably his
Missionary Ridge is a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it was. He
was also outgeneraled.
And I think we should. I think Vicksburg is going to be 3 minimum.
Yeah, Jim and Allie B will say like 3 for each. Yeah.
You could do honestly because you could talk about Port Hudson. You could talk about Nathaniel Banks with this. There's so many aspects of it.
That's what I want to do. Is there's a lot we could. I mean, we could technically do an episode about Vicksburg and the Navy as well, completely separate from the other 3 that we're going to do because the Navy often gets overlooked. But this is like a joint Army Navy effort in taking this, right? Trimble vibrator blames Yule vibrator for doing nothing.
At least now I know it got Jenny Wade. You know? You know.
But yeah, I think John says Porter and Ali says run those guns. I think yes, at least 3 is going to be good for us to cover the campaign.
Well, you're gonna talk about the initial fails, about digging the trench, and you got to talk about about there's a whole bunch of things. But then you could do Vicksburg. You could do a whole podcast on Vicksburg.
Oh,
like
you
those
could.
dudes for the Gettysburg ones.
I know you could. Yeah, absolutely. You could do a Battle of Vicksburg podcast, just like the Battle of Gettysburg podcast that exists. That is quite possible with the Vicksburg campaign. And it's not just 3 days. It's 9 months.
Yeah, it's like a baby.
It's actually before that too. If you look at what was happening in '62 when Farragut tried to take it, right? Like there were those failed attempts that he had when he was coming in from New Orleans.
The New Orleans campaign with Butler and the boat mines and all that stuff. There's so many things you could talk about. Obviously, you think of Vicksburg, you think of Champion Hill. You think of Yazoo River. You think of Deer Creek. You think there's so many things. So we'll figure that out. We'll have a good time with that. We'll talk more about that, but it'll be at least a 3-part, probably not 3 together, probably, Mary. We'll probably
no, I think we're going to do one this week, and then we'll do one around the anniversary of when they ran past the batteries, and then we would do one around July the 4th as well.
Yeah. But Andrew, the Navy, you know what? The Navy gets a bum rap with this, with a lot of this stuff. But when you talk about the Vicksburg campaign, you got to talk about the Navy because it's a huge deal. So we will definitely do that, and you'll appreciate that. Yeah,
Leonard said 1862 Vicksburg could be a whole episode. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking now. Is 1862 Vicksburg needs to be an episode as well.
Yeah. We talk about the Cairo, Mary.
Yes, you got it right.
Cairo. Yeah, we talk about that with that whole thing, but it's definitely it's going to be interesting to talk about this stuff. So so something to look forward to. So we should probably jump off as it's getting close to 12:15, 12:30.
Yeah,
I got wood coming to help pile all day, so my afternoon here in stately Darren Manor. So anyway, hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Hope that we did on Stones River. It was a lot of fun to do. So these things are always fun to do. But definitely. So coming attractions again, we talked about Vicksburg. We'll do that, and then we have a couple of weeks until the next roundtable. So hopefully everyone can join the roundtable. I'm looking at you, Pike. You haven't been on one of these yet, so hopefully you jump on.
They're a lot of fun. And I don't think we have a topic for this time. It'll just be hopping on and just
be free will like this. So you can talk about Vicksburg, talk about vibrators, try whatever you want. It's all kinds of fun stuff we can talk about. But again, remember too about the whole thing we're doing with the ABT too. So
so I will announce that in a few days about how long that's going to run through for the first book, and then we'll do the second and third.
So you can donate today and just email us at civilwarbreakfastclub@gmail.com, and we're going to keep track of who has it. We'll do a little raffle. And we're definitely going to tweet at them so they know we're doing it. So maybe they can help forward it too and get some people to participate as well.
And
so it's all about.
Jim just said next roundtable is January 20th, Andrea. Thanks to Jim for posting the date for it.
Yeah. Even I didn't know the date, so good for Jim to figure that out.
Yeah, no, I did. It's on the coming attractions on the website. It's on there now.
Definitely. So
which I update I'm going to try and update that every Saturday afternoon. So there's always like the next 4 weeks that you guys can see on there for us. Andrea just said Vicksburg and Fort Donelson, Fort Henry, big time Navy involvement. Yep. We probably will be doing an episode about Donelson and Fort Henry too this year as well.
There's a lot of good stuff to do. So time, it's 6 p.m. Mary, is it 6 or 7?
6 to 7.
Okay. We do it for like an hour. Oh, it's inauguration day. That's right.
Oh, wow.
Good point. So that'll be fun. So you'll remember that one, Andrea. So it'll be 6 o'clock. Usually 6 to 7. Usually goes about 7:30.
It goes to about 7:30. Like we don't cap it at an hour. We just kind of, usually around 7:30.
And it's basically just this, except everybody's on it. We just all talk and hang out. So it's a lot of fun. So, Ryan's 11 o'clock.
Ryan's been on there for 2 of them, which is awesome.
There'll be some good stuff. So anyway, everybody, hope you had a great new year. Hope you had a great holiday season, Christmas, et cetera, et cetera. And we look forward to talking to you soon. So, so definitely a lot of fun with this. Always a good time. So keep up with the Twitter stuff. And if you are going to donate, send us the stuff as soon as you can. We'll get those things out. We really want to do this. We think it's a good idea to do this. So we'll order the books and we'll send them out to you. So we will definitely do that.
Yep,
And
we will for sure. And thank you for everybody for coming on here, and also Happy New Year. And thank you for all your support for these 20 episodes. And obviously this is our 20th happy hour that we've had on here. And like the shenanigans on here are great. Like I think we have some really solid history discussion, but we have a lot of fun with it too. So you guys
well,
are a
this
great
yeah,
community. Awesome.
this community, this group is the Civil War Breakfast Club. It really
Yes.
is.
Yep.
It's not just us; it's all of us.
Yeah.
So we definitely appreciate that. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, you guys have a great weekend. We will definitely talk to you all online. Definitely a lot of fun. So have a great night. Hey, Amelia, didn't see you jump on. So
Happy New Year, Amelia.
Thanks for jumping. Happy New Year too. So now, Andrew, you you behave yourself until next time, and we'll talk to you all soon. So Mary, it's a pleasure. We'll catch up with you here in a little while, and everyone else have a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe. We will talk to you next week, and we will do beginning of Vicksburg starting on Tuesday night.
Yep. See you guys later.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.
All right.